We are live on Boom Broadcasting and Mouthing Off with Mike's Twitter, his X. And you guys may realize that we're not mouthing off with Mike. He's at WrestleMania. He's having a great time. He can just enjoy it, but we're taking over his Twitter today, and we're taking over the Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel because it is WrestleMania season, and it is going to be awesome. I am so excited that we get to have this WrestleMania card. We have not one, but two nights of WrestleMania, and this is the official Boom Broadcasting WrestleMania Kickoff show. Now, I'm not alone. I've been doing a lot of content for Boom over the last week. Dropped what WWE needed to do this week. Dropped WrestleMania 21, WrestleMania 31, how that relates to WrestleMania 41. Also did night one predictions, did night two predictions. Shawn did his WOD predictions, and now we have culminated to the weekend, and I am not alone. And so I want to give a shout out to someone who was already on a show earlier today. Actually, both these guys were on shows earlier today, but Shawn started us off with WOD predictions, 10 a.m. this morning. Shawn, you've been up all day, but can you stay up all night for WrestleMania?
That's the question, Mike. Been up since last night. Watched SmackDown. Stayed up to watch the Hall of Fame as I stayed on WOD today. Ivan Koloff, 30 minutes from where I live at. Got a chance to meet him at Parker's Barbecue. We're down there in Greenville, North Carolina. Great guy. Wow. You know, we talked about wrestling, talked about his religious faith, all that stuff when we met at Parker's. Whenever you saw this guy down in the Greenville area, that's where he resided at. You know, people always flock to him just to hear old wrestling stories. So I definitely wanted to stay up to support him and his family as he got inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame last night. So I'm on fumes right now. But hey, I'm looking forward to it.
Dude, that is awesome. It's always great when you run into a wrestler or celebrity just, you know, going about your business. And guys, I know Shawn dropped his WOD predictions, and we're going to drop all our final predictions. Shawn might change his mind as we're talking on the live stream, so don't hold him to it. If he switches up answers, it's just because I made a compelling case for him. And we're not just joined by Shawn, but earlier this afternoon at noon, we didn't get just 30 minutes of Three from Deep. We didn't just get an hour of Three from Deep. We got 2 hours of Three from Deep, and it wasn't just Jason. It was Cody from Drew Code Sports Talk, and I believe this is also streaming on Drew Code Sports Talk as well. So,
it is.
Cody, I appreciate you, and I know you got the Al Davis way hanging behind you, but
yeah,
I don't know if there's a relation there. Maybe I need to check that out.
Well, if you are related to the late, great Al Davis, hopefully you get in a paycheck, and then hopefully you'll come over to the dark side and be a Raiders fan. So you stop rooting for the Cowboys over there. But, you know, we'll see where your allegiance lies. No pun intended for where WrestleMania is going to be, you know, happening at.
And that is a good point. Cody is a Raiders fan, so he's watched games in Allegiant Stadium from just the comfort of his television. And so now you get to see a WrestleMania spectacle, the first time WrestleMania has been at Allegiant Stadium. From what you know as a Raiders fan, do you think this venue is the best place for WrestleMania and Las Vegas in general?
Oh, yeah. It is like one of the top tourism capitals of the world. People come literally from all over the world. I mean, the Death Star, aka Allegiant Stadium, is one of the most phenomenal stadiums and arenas you're going to find around the country, with not only just, you know, state-of-the-art technology, but immense food, great, like, just schematics of the build of it itself. So WrestleMania, I mean, if it wasn't a place that's going to go, you know, to different places all over the country every year, I would say Allegiant Stadium would be basically the hub for it for futures time to come, because of just what it can do and all the shenanigans that you can do in Las Vegas, as well as Mouthing Off with Mike has been showing us in our group chat. He's been having a ton of fun at WWE World this whole week.
Yeah, and you mentioned Mouthing Off with Mike. We're on his Twitter. We have invaded it right now. What's cool about that is Mouthing Off with Mike is a huge wrestling fan. He hosts our nightcaps every Monday, every Friday with pay-per-views for Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown. He hosts those every week on Boom Broadcasting and on his X account. And he's had a few days off because he is actually getting to enjoy WrestleMania from Las Vegas itself. So he will be stepping into Allegiant Stadium, and I'm sure he's having a blast. And he has actually had not one, but 2 cameos on the WWE socials. And I don't know how he's doing it, but he's getting free publicity for Mouthing Off with Mike and his own YouTube channel and the nightcaps he does for Boom Broadcasting. So as much work as he's put in over the last year with Boom Broadcasting, I mean, it was a year ago when he and I were brainstorming what Boom Broadcasting could be and what it could look like. And now we're over 20 shows, live streaming, pre-recorded content throughout your entire week, throughout your entire day. And he's been a huge part of it. So it's great to see Mike be able to like let go, relax, and just be a kid again. And that's what WrestleMania weekend is all about. Shawn, how long have you been watching WrestleMania, and how do you think that childlike aspect comes into play?
Well, when I think about WrestleMania, I think about WrestleMania 10. The ladder match, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. As a kid, I was in the 4th grade. Mom and Dad said, hey, if you get good grades on your report card, we'll order the pay-per-view. Now, Mom and Dad didn't know back then the WrestleMania cost like $60, $70 to order on pay-per-view on the pay-per-view channel. But I did what I had to do, and that was one of my favorite ones because I had to, do the right things in school, get the right grades, make sure that that report card looked good so they could order it, so they honored their word, they ordered it. And I've just been watching for a long time, all the way from the 80s, the 90s to now. It's our Super Bowl. It's our Super Bowl of wrestling this weekend right here. And I just think every year it gets bigger and bigger.
And it does get bigger and bigger. And you mentioned the Super Bowl aspect of that. Cody, this is WWE Super Bowl, and all eyes are on it. I know you're wearing a Stone Cold shirt. So how did your fandom come into play?
Well, it's funny enough. So my cousin that I grew up with, he was a diehard wrestling fan, I think when we were like 8 or 9. So we're talking 98, 99. We just stumbled upon, originally it was WCW. Then we kind of found WWF at the time. And then I just remember my very first WrestleMania was WrestleMania 2000, Fatal 4-Way, with each McMahon family member had somebody in their corner. And I was a huge fan of The Rock at the time. And then once I kind of got introduced to Stone Cold, because he actually had a little bit of a hiatus in the early 2000s because of a neck fusion, but you got to see all the promos that he had leading up to it. And then when he came back, just took over like he never left. And so he's been one of the pivotal, wrestlers that I've grown up with. The Rock, especially Triple H. I mean, Triple H has literally been around this business for 30 years. So he's etched in just about everyone's childhood. But WrestleMania has had a special place just because every time it comes around, it's like, how much bigger can it be? How much better can it be? So every single year it is not only something to look forward to, but what are they going to do differently? And some of the greatest wrestling moments have been on the WrestleMania stage. So it's very exciting every time that this comes around.
And you said WrestleMania 2000 was your first ever one?
That was my first one I've watched, yeah.
Do you think that's your favorite that you've ever watched?
No, I think WrestleMania, I think it's either 17 or 18. WWE had a stretch of like 17, 18. I even want to argue 19. They had 3 WrestleManias back to back to back that were just banger after banger after banger. And they are etched in my childhood because at that time I would have been in my teen years, and man, I would have been knee deep in my fandom for it. And we're talking TLC matches. We're talking Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin before Stone Cold turned heel, Hogan versus The Rock. So there's so many of those matches on those 3 cards alone. I think there's one of them where there was Triple H and Undertaker, their first match together before it kind of did a trilogy with Shawn Michaels and stuff. So yeah, WrestleMania 2000 is where it started, but as it's gone on and as it's gone global, it's gotten even better. And I would even say WrestleMania 14 is one of like the top ones that I can recall that like really imprinted on me just recently.
Yeah. And guys, you can be a part of the show. You can comment just like Piper did. Can't wait. And then Uso pulling for Jey Uso in the opening match tonight against World Heavyweight Champion Gunther. So Piper, thank you for joining us over on YouTube right now. I believe you found us through Drew Code Sports Talk, which we're glad that you're here with us. And this is part of Boom Broadcasting. This is part of Mouth It Off with Mike. We've stolen his Twitter account for the day. We might even have access to it tomorrow because we're live streaming before both WrestleMania Sunday and WrestleMania Saturday. And so this is where you can get all your wrestling content. And Cody, you bring up a good point about WrestleMania is like the first few you watch are just etched in your mind. Like
That's right.
For me, WrestleMania 21 was the first ever WrestleMania I watched. And that stretch between 21 to 23, I hold in high regard. Shawn, when you think of WrestleMania, what's your first ever WrestleMania that you watch? And then what's your favorite WrestleMania that you've watched?
First one I watched was 10. That was the one I watched. Michaels and Razor Ramon, the ladder match, classic ladder match. My favorite one, back then, you know, as a kid, I cheered for the good guys, hated to see the bad guys win. But as I got older and I learned about the storytelling aspect of the match, my favorite one is 25. Shawn Michaels, Undertaker. I could watch that match. I mean, after watching it, me and my buddy watched that match together. Both of us diehard wrestling fans through middle school, elementary, middle school, and high school. Both of us were adults then, working. We took time that Saturday to watch that one match together. And after that match, me and both looked at each other and said, this is why we watch wrestling. The storytelling that match, everything from Michaels pretty much being the saint, Taker pretty much being the guy you didn't want to see win. You wanted Michaels to end the streak. To me, that was arguably the best match that I had seen on Mania besides Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and the Macho Man for the Intercontinental title.
Wow. Yeah. And so you can see that, you know, WrestleMania, we are about to watch the 41st WrestleMania in history. And you can go back all the way to WrestleMania 10. You can go back all the way to 2000, 2005, all the way up to 2025, WrestleMania 41. And it's so big now that you have not one, but 2 nights of WrestleMania. And so I want to get y'all's perspective because for me, I'm a diehard. Like I watch as much wrestling content as I can consume. Sometimes there's not as much time in the day as I'd want it to. I try to watch Raw, SmackDown, AEW. I went through a phase where I watched it weekly, and now I just catch some of the bigger shows, some of the bigger pay-per-views now, just because there's so much content. I just watched NXT Stand Deliver right before we went on air here on Boom Broadcasting. So what is your weekly, daily, monthly consumption of wrestling content? Do you breathe it all in all at once, or do you're like, hey, let me catch the bigger stuff? Because I feel like WrestleMania is kind of like the Super Bowl, where there's some fans who watch every game, every NFL Sunday, or in multiple fantasy football leagues, and then there's others like, hey, it's the Super Bowl, I'm not going to miss that. Shawn, where do you lie on the spectrum of casual diehard wrestling fan?
I'm on the diehard side. The whole house watches wrestling. The kids, the wife, we all watch it. Big fans of WWE. I'm like you, AEW. When Tony Storm's back, I'm back. Eyes are back on AEW a whole lot. I miss a lot of the shows, but that's a good thing about DVR. You can catch up while you're at work on your lunch breaks. Those break times I can catch up on that. TNA, the same thing. Watch it. Big diehard fan for WWE. Try to watch it live every time it's on TV and the premium live events. So indie guys support a lot of indie shows in the area, so I'm a diehard wrestling fan for years. I did go like everybody, go through that stretch where you kind of quit watching. Mine was around the 2004, 6, 7 era. I kind of stopped watching. Just the content to me back then just wasn't what I was looking for. But then I started gravitating back as I started seeing other people coming in. They're like, okay, I remember seeing these guys on indie shows. Let me see what they can do in WWE. So I'm a diehard, try not to miss nothing.
Hey, try not to miss nothing. And our comments, Alex join us as well. Roman Reigns, he thinks he will win at WrestleMania. So Alex, we appreciate you joining us. Let us know where you're watching from. We represent our tribal chief, our head of the table here on Boom Broadcast, and we're very grateful that you're joining us. Cody, where are you on the spectrum of casual, diehard? How much have you kept up during WrestleMania season? Where do you lie on that spectrum?
So I think I am not quite and here's what I'll say. I'm a diehard in the sense of I love the product. I'll always be a fan. I'll always want to support it as long as it's heading in the right direction. As terms of wrestling, I've watched everything from WCW, WWF or TNA, ECW, Ring of Honor. So I've seen a lot of those as well. I've tried to keep up with A&W, but it's just kind of changing a lot. But for the most part, like thankfully with social media, I feel like I am as up to date as I can be without having to watch, a 2.5 hour program. Because, Michael, I think you and I can both agree on this. With being podcasters, we're consuming a ton of content and we're having to do a lot of like research and viewing. And, wrestling does come a part of that. But fortunately, with social media and how strategic Triple H has been and getting content out there to make sure that you feel, engaged, but you're not lost. And so it makes it feel like you can just step in and say, I kind of feel like I know what is going on. Whereas back in the day, you had to have watched every WrestleMania or every at least SmackDown or Raw, or at the time back then they had Sunday Night Heat. Sometimes you'd have to keep up with all those to get some callbacks for when they would talk about it on the PLEs. Nowadays, though, like I can say I'm a casual, but for the most part, thankfully with social media, still a diehard at heart. I still feel like that 10-year-old kid that first watched it, staying up past my bedtime, acting like I was asleep when my mom would walk in. She knew I was awake, but still, having to watch every single Raw and just paving the way for childhood that culminated to WrestleMania. So I love it every time, every year. It feels like I'm a wrestling kid all over again. So that's what makes it so special and what wrestling does. And very similar to Shawn, in our house, like not everyone's a fan, but everyone loves to watch it. And because they love me, they'll sit through it. So I'm very fortunate in that.
And I'm very fortunate with that too, because a couple of things come to my mind. My family, right? Me and my dad, big wrestling fans. I think I'm a little bit bigger than him. When it comes to wrestling fandom, he's the huge Cowboys fan and he'll consume Cowboys content. I'm the huge wrestling fan. I'll consume wrestling content, but that's how we bond. And then my mom has gotten into it. She likes watching Rhea Ripley. My sister has now gotten into it, and we've taken my sister to a couple wrestling events this year. AEW's Fight for the Fallen in Asheville. And then there was a Monday Night Raw episode not too long ago where we went. And it's so special that you get to create these moments and create these memories that you get to have for the longest time. And Mouth Off with Mike saying,
What's
now
up,
we're
Mike?
Talking. He's probably realizing we stole his Twitter account for today, but hey, he usually does the nightcap. And now we get to just hang out, talk about WrestleMania. We hope Mouth Off with Mike is enjoying his time in Vegas. And we're not doxing you. We're not telling everybody where you are. WWE socials did that because the man appeared not once, but twice. Just all because he hit somebody with a chair and had a headshot.
He smacked the chicken tendies out of Dirty Dom. Just saying. If everyone, go check it out on WWE socials. Mouthing Off with Mike took him out.
Got some fresh ink while he's been down there.
Yeah.
And rumor has it Dirty Dom is now clean shaven after the chair shot. Just wipe that mustache off Dirty Dom. So we're glad Mouth Off with Mike is enjoying himself right now. And we know it's going to be a great WrestleMania. And let's start talking about some of these matches, because there is a match. Jey Uso, Gunther is going to be starting off WrestleMania. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a fun night, but I'm wondering if we do end up yeeting at the end of the night with Jey Uso and Gunther. Now, we will do our official predictions later on this episode as we wrap up the pre-show, but there's a lot of people who's upset about Jey Uso and Gunther not being in the main event. Cody, do you think where they're placed on the card determines if this is a main event match?
Well, thankfully they're leading off the show, so it's not like they're getting stuck in the middle of the card. I think that'd been worse. But I would argue this kind of takes the wind out of the sails, because you got an opponent in Jey main event Uso not main eventing. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. I know that we'll allude to it in later on in night one's show about the triple threat match that ultimately is at the main event, which I would agree with. But I think what makes this difficult is this could have been a very good build But I think that the fact that there is no main event spot to put him in kind of undertakes the whole value of main event and Jey Uso, who main events, and he didn't. He's essentially an opening act, respectfully speaking, and not necessarily a main event. And I think that does kind of take a little bit away from it. Now, fortunately, Gunther, as being the ultimate heel who has come out and has really just shown how brutal he is really like paving the way for this. But I think WWE here really needs to kind of go back to the drawing board when it comes to buildups like this, when you got a guy that's his name, the main event is in his name, and you can't find a way to get him there. I think that this is an opportunity that WWE could look to like, let's work on like the storyline process again and see if we're not missing something, or maybe we're jumping the gun. Maybe this could have happened at like Backlash rather than WrestleMania and take up a main event.
Yeah, and pushing Jey Uso as the Royal Rumble winner, maybe there was some concern like, hey, how do we get Jey Uso into that world title picture? And maybe that was their way of naturally doing it. Rick 8-Bit saying this takes a little bit of cred from winning the Royal Rumble. So he's of the understanding if you win the Royal Rumble, you're in the main event. Rick 8-Bit also saying they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. The problem is mouthing off with Mike keeps finding WWE socials. And what's unfortunate is somebody might have tipped him off about stealing his Twitter account. And I feel like somebody is right there.
Oh, no.
Is that mouthing off with Mike?
What's up, fellas?
Oh, we're caught.
Can you hear me?
We're
can hear you.
I don't have much left of my voice, you know, and I have I now have officially a night one ticket for WrestleMania, so we will be live in attendance. So, you know, we'll see all the in arena, in stadium action only on Boom Broadcasting, of course. But I'm glad you guys did take over mouthing off with Mike, because the people need to hear you guys talk about WrestleMania. Much like Rick 8-Bit said, I don't know, I just keep finding these. They just like me. They're just on to me, I guess, WWE socials. I feel bad
Hopefully
about Tom, though, man.
Hopefully they'll sign you to a developmental contract or something.
I mean, I'll take an NIL deal. I'll take bare minimums. You know,
there you go.
I'll be one of the security guards that they put through the barricade in the Jacob Fatu match, you know, tonight. So I'm fine with that if that happens. You know, sign me up. I'm ready. Call me up.
And booking like a Mark saying, to me, wrestling family go hand in hand. His brother Eric and him celebrating 25 years of fandom. Today they're prepping for Easter and then listening to this wrestling podcast. And mouthing off with Mike's join us. We'll get back to Jey Uso, Gunther. We're just hanging out. We're just having fun. We're chilling for WrestleMania. Mike, I want to know your experience with WrestleMania here real quick. What have you done so far? What's been the most exciting part about attending WrestleMania live?
Well, you know, lost a lot of money in the casino. No, I'm kidding. We lost a lot of money at the WWE Superstore. So we went to the Superstore Thursday when we got into town, and they had a lot of great gear. You know, then after that, we actually went to GCW Bloodsport 13.
Nice.
So we got to see a little bit of some of the, you know, the independents here on the circuit. You know, when we were there, here's your exclusive. So we were going up to our seats, and as we're walking right in front of us is Lexus King and his girlfriend. So they're there for the show and to support all the NXT WWE talent. And I'm like, and we're just walking behind them, and I'm like, oh shit, you know, like, and like the person, you know, tells them, oh, right this way, and they signal us, and we just keep walking. So we're thinking like, oh, you know, we're just going to our seats. Meanwhile, we end up almost backstage, and we were like, oh, you know, maybe should we go further, or should we just go to our seats and you know, not risk getting power bombed through the you know, through the floor. So, you know, we went back to our seats. But yeah, there was some a lot of WWE representation at Bloodsport, and then yesterday we went to WWE World. Got to see some of the exhibits. You'll see some of it on my channel. I'll be posting a vlog as soon as I have some time to edit. Of kind of the Triple H, the John Cena stuff. Very cool. There was a big wall that you could sign, like thanking John Cena. So that was pretty cool. And then we saw Living Color, the band that does CM Punk's theme song and many other hits out there. And there we actually had a little bit of a rumble at the concert, so we got a little bit of some bonus. Some fans, got into a little tussle. Only in Vegas, baby. Um, and then now today we got NXT Stand and Deliver was a great show. Did you guys watch Stand and Deliver?
I did, and I'm really upset. Spoiler alert, my guy did not win or overcome a certain match. So I know I'm hurting because of that. Mike, I know you're hurting because of a certain heel turn.
Yes.
Stacks. Yeah. That rat. He's such a rat. How dare he? The Don has given him so many chances. He turns his back on the family. The ultimate disrespect. He broke everyone's hearts today.
Well, dude, I saw your seats for Stand Deliver. Those were like, dude, you've had like the best week. You had not one, but 2 appearances on WWE socials. You got to hit Dirty Dom with a steel chair. You got to see Lexis King and his girlfriend. You got to go to all these wrestling shows, and you had killer seats for Stand Deliver.
Oh man, yeah, dude. It was it's been a good weekend, man. I mean, the tickets for Stand and Deliver were super cheap, so they were basically giving them away for free at this point. They were like, let's just get them, let's just get in there. I was like, I'm not missing it. I'm not missing NXT. Stand Delivers always delivered throughout the WrestleMania weekend, that's for sure. Yeah, fellas. I mean, you guys are talking a little Gunther, Jey Uso. I'm just getting ready to head on over. I'm getting my Yeet armbands on to go watch see WrestleMania become Yeet Mania. So let's keep the show rolling. I want to hear what you guys think about this match.
Yeah, Shawn, we were talking about Jey Uso win the Royal Rumble, not being in the main event. He is opening WrestleMania, which I think stands for something of its own right. But do you take exception to Jey Uso not main eventing?
No, I don't. And I wish that WWE would go ahead now. This is a prime example for them to do it. Drop the main event WrestleMania, because you never know what type of star power, what you can build up. And they saw that with this year and also last year when Roman wanted to go against Rock. You saw this year now with Roman, Cody, and Seth. Don't build up. You don't know what star power you can bring it to make a main event. Just say if you win the Royal Rumble, you get a title shot at Mania, either on night 1 or night 2. That kind of quiets down he supposed to be main event, he don't. But if you're Jey, you got a pretty good spot. Night 1, you're the opening match. You get to set the tone for Mania. You're probably going to come out with a big entrance at the beginning, so you're setting the tone for how the rest of the show will be. I would rather have that spot than close it. That's just me, because I can say I was the one who kicked out Mania and got it going in the right direction. So I'm good with it. I don't have no ill will about him not main eventing Mania. I think he ended up getting a better spot this way.
Hey, and that's awesome. By the way, Christopher, shout out, just subscribed on his phone. We appreciate you so much, Christopher. We do a lot of content, whether it's wrestling related, sports related. Shawn has a TV and movie show review. We do it all here on Boom Broadcasting, and he's yeeting. Mike, I don't know how you're going to feel seeing, because you're wearing a CM Punk shirt. So, I mean, if we didn't get Jey Uso in the main event, we're getting CM Punk in the main event. Which do you think was more important for WWE to do?
Mike, now come on now.
Now,
if you're gonna ask me questions, let's dial it up. That obviously it's CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns is the most important. I mean, yeah, is it a sad? Is it? I don't know. I wouldn't say sad, but is it like a unfortunate kind of stroke of bad luck for Jey that the exact timing of this rivalry turning into a big one with Punk, Roman, and Seth? Like, if that's not happening, then I think Jey gets the main event. But without that, and that's the more important match. It's got a lot of stakes at it. There's a lot of different moving parts there. I mean, getting the opener, like Shawn said, you're the first match of the entire WrestleMania weekend between Saturday and Sunday. So you set the tone. So I think it makes sense here. I mean, I think it's the right call.
And with Gunther and Jey Uso, You look at what they've done in the past. Jey Uso got to have his WrestleMania 40 dream match, twin versus twin against last year, Jimmy Uso. And then Gunther a couple years ago had one of the best triple threats. Him, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, an absolute banger for the Intercontinental title. But then Gunther lost the title to Sami Zayn, his historic Intercontinental Championship reign coming to an end at last year's WrestleMania. I'm not going to ask who wins yet because we're going to cover that at the end of the show. Sean also did his WrestleMania predictions on his Wrestling of Destiny. Mike did his WrestleMania predictions on the Mouthing Off with Mike Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel. And Christopher saying Gunther 53-3 in singles matches since his arrival in WWE is absolutely wild. But I would
ring general.
I would go ahead and make the case that if you don't win at WrestleMania and you lose back-to-back big marquee matchups at back-to-back WrestleManias, it could start to hurt Gunther's credibility. But Jey Uso, if you're the main event and you go 0-4 against Gunther and you can't claim the world title, that hurts a little bit of his momentum. Cody, we're going to do predictions later, but who do you think needs it more to win, but also show that they could be in a marquee matchup at next year's WrestleMania?
I mean, I think it's the guy that we're all hoping, well, I'll presume that we're all kind of siding with. I think it's Jey Uso for sure, because first off, he's kind of branching out and he's trying to prove that within the family, he can also win a title from being under Roman in the bloodline for most of the last few years. So I think if anyone has the pressure, it's Jey. And I mean, look at how he's been leading up to this, where he's second guessing himself. And then he's having to essentially see his brother kind of get the snot beaten out of him and bloodied up by Gunther. I think Jey is going to have to step up and prove that he can hang with a guy like Gunther, a guy that is also going to be a fighting champion, and to rise to the occasion to, you know, not only is he a fun crowd favorite, but is he a guy that's going to continue to have stellar matches and be able to compete with the best of them as a champion. So I think it's Jey.
He thinks it's Jey. Rick 8-Bit going in the comments saying Jey will lose tonight, or Jey will win tonight. And Christopher agreeing that Jey Uso needs it more. Mike, when it comes to what the landscape looks like for the next year, you're always like future thinking, and that's what's led to a lot of your content over on your YouTube channel. Who do you think needs a better performance tonight?
Ultimately, I think Jey. I think Jey definitely needs a better performance. I think it's tough because a lot of people hated on his match last year with his brother Jimmy, and I think this year now he's in an elevated spot on the card. You know, we could argue fighting for the world title, winning a Royal Rumble, opening up WrestleMania. So I mean, like, he's got to be on point. You know, everything has to be polished off. He has to be, you know, ready to go. You know, he's in for a big fight with a guy who can take your weaknesses and, you know, end you right then and there, you know, at the end of the day. So, I mean, he's got to have the better performance if he wants to win. And I think if he has that performance that, you know, kind of puts people in their place, I think that'll go a long way for whatever kind of title run he might have. You know, I don't expect this to be a long one. I don't expect this to be, you know, 1,400 and how many days did Roman have? You know, 52, right? I expect it to be like 90 days, you know, 100 days, 120 days. I don't know. Count the days till SummerSlam, you know?
Honestly.
But if he puts on that type of performance, that people may kind of look at him and go, okay, you know, sorry we doubted you all this time. And that goes a long way.
And you mentioned the doubt. Sean, this was a twin tag team wrestler ever since his debut, wearing the face paint with his brother Jimmy and coming out and doing this, you know, tribal dance right way back when. And I would butcher if I tried to stand up and do it now, but all I can do is yeet. That's a lot easier for me to do. But just imagine, like, nobody thought, like, when he debuted or when the Usos even became one of the best tag teams in all the world, like he would be in a world title match at WrestleMania standing on his own. He's progressed so far since way back when he was a tag team wrestler.
I would say for this match right here, nobody saw Jey breaking out as far as he has broken out. Even with the main event, when he was the right-hand man in the bloodline, he was still the second sidekick, played second fiddle to Roman. But for this match, I'm going to say it's Gunther. I go back to what I said on WOD earlier today, and I'm going to say it again. When you have the pre-show on Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Michael Cole and Pat McAfee said, we're undefeated at Mania, Gunther. You're not. When a broadcaster can throw that in your face, and we want to look at Gunther as this top guy, you don't want to start looking at Gunther as a Charles Barkley of WWE when all these matches but gets to the finals, our big show, WrestleMania, and can't finish it. Cannot either defend the title to remain champion or win the title. You don't want to see that with Gunther. I think if Gunther doesn't come out in his A game, we start having some doubt in really is he the ring general. The ring general supposed to be the general, not only on Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, but on premium live events. That's what you get paid to be the ring general for.
Yeah, and see, that's a good perspective because like everybody, and we'll do our final prediction speed style at the end of our stream tonight, and we'll get you out of here around 6:30 Eastern time for WrestleMania starting at 7. Get you guys a little bit of time to get some grub and everything. But Jey Uso, he can be a dime a dozen. Like there are hot baby faces like Sami Zayn, LA Knight. They come around every so often, but Gunther, a generational talent. You don't want him to have the kryptonite of WrestleMania sticking by with him. By the way, Doughboy, who was on with Shawn with WOD, he's only got a few minutes as B-Day dinner. Shout out. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, cuz.
Happy birthday. He's going to break some new moves out of the bag. And he said on his interview, he's going to see 5 or 6 moves. Okay.
Right.
He's like, let's go Oos. So he's obviously rooting for Jey Uso. Doughboy, happy birthday. We hope you have a great birthday weekend. We hope you have a great Easter weekend. We hope you have a great WrestleMania weekend because it is one of my favorite weekends of the year. Everybody, unless you're talking to me about wrestling, don't blow up my phone. That is the golden rule right there for this weekend.
Better than Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it's so good. It's
WrestleMania
so good.
week is better than Christmas, baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you have, I mentioned Jey Uso and how high he's become, but LA Knight was one of the hotter superstars like a year or two ago and was struggling to get on WrestleMania in his own hometown of Los Angeles. And now you have a new member of the bloodline being introduced to us in the last year. And he's kind of overtaken Solo Sikoa as the tribal chief. It's LA Knight, Jacob Fatu for the United States title. And Mike, it's been a really long time since we saw the United States title really like presented at WrestleMania in a marquee matchup. And we have Jacob Fatu. He is so dangerous. Do you feel like this was the perfect matchup to showcase the United States title? Or would you have preferred something else be in its place?
I mean, no, I think this, I mean, would I have liked to see a multi-man match for this U.S. title? Absolutely. I think we all kind of were like, there's a few different guys that could vie for this at WrestleMania. Jacob definitely is at the top of the list. You can make arguments for Andrade, Carmelo Hayes. So I think, it would have been nice to maybe see something like that, like they did with the IC title on Raw. But I mean, LA Knight gets a Mania match here. He was on the card. Was he on the card last year?
I believe he was, yeah.
Yes. He beat Logan last year, I think.
Yeah, he did. Actually, that was where he won the U.S. title was last year's Mania. He beat Paul. Yeah. Lucas
No. He beat Paul at SummerSlam.
Oh, no.
No, because
I'm sure he was at Mania, though.
Mania 40, it was Logan versus Randy and Kevin Owens.
Right.
In the U.S. title match.
Right now, I'm second-guessing myself. I'm going to look this up.
Oh, LA Knight, he had that feud with AJ
It was
AJ
AJ.
Styles.
It was AJ
Yes,
Styles.
that's right.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah, but so I mean, LA Knight's hit a tough spot here because I'd love to see him retain the title, but at this point, it's Jacob Fatu's world, baby, and we are just living in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I gotta say on that.
And Christopher, Jacob Fatu's WrestleMania debut, LA Knight debuted last year against AJ Styles. Also, Christopher's birthday's in 44 days. He's got the countdown on Monday, June 2nd. Well, you're in luck because not only are we doing wrestling content now, but Mouth Off with Mike does nightcaps after Monday Night Raw episodes. So you can come celebrate your birthday, have some cake along with it too. Cody, when you've gotten into wrestling, obviously LA Knight is compared to usually The Rock, and he's compared to Stone Cold a little bit, the guy on your shirt.
Yeah.
Do you see those comparisons being true, or do you think LA Knight's just his own modern version of himself?
Well, I don't want to hedge my bets and say yes to both, but here's how LA Knight reminds me of the Attitude Era. The way that he cuts promos, the way that he can do it on the fly, the way that he gauges the crowd with, the LA Knight, yeah, chants. Like, that is just something that not a whole lot of wrestlers can do and create that sort of like bond with the fans. The Rock was really good at doing that. When he would cut a promo, you can just tell that he had the crowd in the palm of his hands. Same thing with Steve Austin, like very synonymous with cutting promos. LA Knight is kind of similar to that off the cuff, off the riff, being able to engage and, also make you excited for what's going on. But LA Knight is kind of his own style of wrestler. I'm not trying to say he mimics those guys, but in terms of on the mic, like pun intended a little bit, he is one of the best that's out there. And a lot of it is feeling like similar callbacks to the Attitude Era, which is why probably a lot of us really, cling to the wrestling world today because of that era and how pivotal it was. And I think that LA Knight doing that is a really good like bridge to introduce a new audience to remember that old school stuff, but yet still be his own kind of character and have his own sort of repertoire. So I think LA Knight is one of those fan favorites, and I'm really curious to see if WWE puts him up into like the championship echelon that's more than just the mid card because of his popularity. I think it'd be very interesting to see post WrestleMania.
And people a lot of times, dock LA Knight for his age, but you can't dock him for his connection to his fans. And I'm a little bit jealous because Mouth Off and the Mic is going to be there live in attendance. I'm not going to hold him up too much because we're going to be with you till 6:30. Mike can't do that till 6:30. Mike, you dropped some WrestleMania predictions on your YouTube channel. But hey, before you go, what match are you looking forward to seeing in person the most? And we'll let you sign out.
For tonight, for Saturday night, it's definitely going to be the main event with Roman, Seth, and CM Punk. I gotta say, I'm also pretty excited for, as much as people don't want to, that I'm not really a fan of it. I'm excited for Charlotte and Tiffany as well. I think that's going to be a good match. I think there's been enough talk, and I think it's time for those two to get down and do what they do best, and that's wrestle in that ring. So, fellas, thanks for letting me join the live stream that's airing on my Twitter. So I appreciate that. Thank you guys so much here. I'll see you guys on the flip side. So be on the lookout for some posts here. So Mike, Shawn, Cody, thanks, fellas.
Hey, thank you, Mike.
See you, Mike.
See you, Mike.
See you guys.
We've hacked your Twitter, so don't worry. It's in good hands.
I trust you. I trust you. I better get at least one F-bomb from you, Prez. You're on it, MOWM, baby. Mouth off with the people. Be the spirit of MOWM today while I am out there in the jungle.
Well, follow Mike into the jungle. We're here live streaming for WrestleMania 41 Saturday night. It's night one. Christopher saying Charlotte's about to win, unfortunately. So we'll get into that here in a second. Now, Cody did analyze a little bit of LA Knight. Shawn, your podcast is Wrestling of Destiny. I mean, it is all filled with Bloodline themes. You're a big Bloodline fan like myself. We're repping the Bloodline tonight on Boom Broadcasting. Jacob Fatu, what do you think makes him so different that people have just been more captivated with him as opposed to Solo Sikoa, who at this time last year was probably being set up to be the next tribal chief. And now all of a sudden, Solo Sikoa's left off WrestleMania and insert Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf.
Well, I think if you haven't seen Jacob, I was following Jacob back on the Indies, and it's kind of funny. The guy went from last year's WrestleMania, sitting in the crowd with his cousin Zillow, when Roman coming out, shaking the dreads, throwing the ones up, to now on WrestleMania within a 1 year span. Jacob, to me, has always been the better one out of the entire family. No disrespect to Roman and the Usos, but just his moveset for what he's able to do at the size that he weighs. I mean, remember the first time he was on Raw? No, when he SmackDown, he did the Whisper in the Wind. I tweeted out to everybody, that's the move that Jeff Hardy does. Think about how big Jacob is. And you got to remember, Jacob was doing this at a bigger size in MLW when he was turning up over there as the MLW heavyweight champ. I think that Jacob just has a little bit more pizzazz in the ring, mic skills. And I kept saying that sooner or later, you're going to have to pull Solo out and start pushing Jacob in that way, because he's going to break out of that little spot that he was in. It was happening sooner or later. It's finally happened. I mean, to me, I'll say it again, arguably he's one of the better ones with the less training that does more stuff in the ring. Think of a Bam Bam Bigelow, guys like that, Big Van Vader. That's how Jacob works. And that's what makes him shine a little bit more than Solo and the rest of them when it comes to this. And no disrespect to G.O.D., big fans of those guys from New Japan and from what they're doing in WWE. But it's just Jacob right now is the pivotal point for the bloodline.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question for you, Michael and Sean, kind of talking about the bloodline and Jacob Fatu. Do you think Solo being off WrestleMania and, Fatu getting a championship, shot before Solo does, do you think this causes a little jealousy with Solo? Because it seems like he's been trying to win favor back with Jacob, and Jacob isn't really feeling it. So do you think this causes some additional tension between the two?
I think so. I think that if Jacob, definitely he goes on to win tonight, let's say Roman loses and Jacob wins, that puts a lot of spotlight on Jacob now as, hey, Roman got Ufalala, but Jacob's got a title. Titles carry more weight than Ufalala in my eyes, not maybe in their eyes, but I think you start to see Solo slip away. And I would be very, very interested to see, even if Jacob wins, if Solo kind of starts heading back towards that Roman side of the bloodline, and then kind of going that way, let Jacob and G.O.D. go in a different direction.
Wow. Okay, so I was feeling the same wavelength as Cody when it came to Solo being very jealous of Jacob Fatu. I mean, it's a spot at WrestleMania, and Jacob Fatu debuted a few months ago, and not only has a match at WrestleMania, but he has a title opportunity. Solo Sikoa has never won a championship in WWE, at least on the main roster. And so I can see that jealousy, but I could not foresee Solo Sikoa going back to Roman.
Yeah.
That'd be quite the swerve.
There would have to be a lot of amends to make that happen. But I think from what we saw, the debut of Raw on Netflix, that kind of closed the chapter on this side of the bloodline. But I think what's very interesting is since then, the relationship between Fatu and Sikoa has been fractured to the point that it feels like Sikoa is trying to win back the favor of Jacob, and Jacob hasn't fully bought in because maybe he just doesn't think that Solo is the actual leader. Maybe this is Fatu's way to say, this is my time now to be the next step in the tribal, being the tribal chief, and maybe he will challenge Roman eventually because now he's got a championship. And then we'll see what that means for Roman when he wants to compete for a title again. So I think this is very, very interesting. A lot of implications for WrestleMania 41 for the bloodline in itself. And I think I'm very curious to see what happens post United States Championship title bout.
Yeah. And question, what match are you guys most looking forward to when it comes to the mid-card titles? Because we got the United States Championship tonight, and then y'all will be with me for the kickoff show tomorrow, where we have Penta, Braun Breaker, Finn Balor, and the guy mouthing off with Mike hit with the chair at WWE World, Dirty Dom Mysterio. Are you more excited for the match tonight, or are you more excited for the match tomorrow when it comes to the mid-card titles, Sean?
I'm more excited for the match tonight. I tell you, I'm a Jacob guy. I've been following since MLW and on the Indies when he was tearing up shows at gymnasium, high school gymnasiums. I was seeing the stuff pop up with him on social media. if he has a good night tonight and they really turn him loose, like we know how he can go, I think he can not steal the show, but he could be one of the guys when you go back and talk about this WrestleMania. You say at 41, this is what really got the Jacob Fatu train down the tracks and really heading in the right direction.
Cody, do you agree with Sean's assessment?
I mean, I really like that one, but how can you not want to go with the fatal four-way of the Intercontinental title with Dirty Dom, Judgment Days, I'm Finn Balor, of course, and then Braun Breaker, who this is, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, his first WrestleMania. So it's very curious to see how he comes out as the champion. And not only that, he's competing against a bunch of guys, and Penta, of course, who's been red hot since coming into the WWE as a singles guy. I mean, I'm very curious to see how the Judgment Day are following this match, because I don't know if there's any course of them repairing. But in my opinion, the Fatal 4-Way and how all of their styles just complement one another and how high flying and exhilarating it's going to be. Give me the Fatal 4-Way for the Intercontinental title. I think that's going to be probably one of the matches of the entire 2-night event.
And that's kind of where I'm leaning to. Don't get me wrong. I've met LA Knight when he was Eli Drake over at WrestleCade. Jacob Fatu was at WrestleCade, not this past year, obviously, but the year before. And one of my biggest regrets is I didn't get up to him, because every time I tried to go up to him, there was a line, and I was like, maybe I'll try later. Every time there was a line, and I'm sure everybody else figured it out. He was not going to be at another one.
Right.
Probably not until he's 60 years old, and it's going to cost $120 to say hey to him and give him a handshake. Speaking of handshakes, Wayne's checking in while at work. He asked if we're yeeting yet. And so we're not giving handshakes. We are yeeting, because we are expecting, when WrestleMania goes live in about an hour and a half, and we got about an hour left of our kickoff show before we let y'all go for WrestleMania, I have a prediction that we might be yeeting to begin WrestleMania weekend. He's mostly looking forward to the Priest-McIntyre street fight tomorrow. So, Wayne, if you want to come on with the Boom Boys tomorrow to talk about that Priest-McIntyre street fight, you are more than welcome, my friend. Wayne does the Sideline Savants, co-hosting with Jason Colenso during the football season, fantasy football-centric podcast. And Christopher saying Lyra Valkyria going to have her WrestleMania debut tomorrow night as well. And the women are being very well showcased this weekend. We have 4 WrestleMania matches dedicated to women, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. And one of those matches is historic in its own right, because Jade Cargill, Naomi, the first time that 2 black women have wrestled at WrestleMania against each other. And it's not even for a title. So this is the first non-title women's match that I think has been in 20 years, which to me is even more insane. This is such an historic matchup. And Jade Cargill versus Naomi just in ring didn't get me sold until I started seeing the promo work over the last couple months. And now, Sean, I'm excited for this one. I don't know how you're feeling about it. Are you hyped for Jade Cargill and Naomi?
I'm very hyped for this one. I'm going to have to borrow my boys from Fourth Side the Ring's motto: don't make this your margarita match. This could be a sleeper match. And I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. Jade is still a little green. Yes, we know that. A lot of stuff we got to kind of polish off for AEW. She's gotten a whole lot better. We can say that. If she follows Naomi, and Naomi to me works great as a heel. We saw that in TNA, that she could be a great heel when she was Trinity Fatu in TNA. If Jade can follow Naomi's lead and let Naomi coach her through this match, this can turn out to be a pretty good match right here, as a good mid-match in the middle of WrestleMania, when you're either coming off a high or a disappointment and you need something to kind of get you back going. This could be that match. To me, Naomi is a great coach. She's a great in-ring performer and worker. And I think this will definitely give her a chance to showcase her skills of being able to carry somebody young like Jade and also make her look good with making yourself look good. So I'm very, very, very hyped for this one match coming up.
And Sean, Christopher saying it is personal, and he agrees with you. So Sean's like, hey, Christopher, come back anytime. Anytime somebody can agree with Sean, Sean's ego just gets a little bit bigger. Maybe like Naomi's is getting a little bit bigger, because Naomi, like on Friday SmackDown, she was like, hey, I was the one who stood up for you, Bianca. I was the one who had your back. Naomi kind of gaslighting Bianca Belair. But Cody, what does this match mean? It doesn't feel like your typical margarita bathroom break match. This feels like you have to have your eyes glued to the TV.
This is kind of like an old school, like, build up to where, like, there's intention behind the act. It's now kind of culminated to this point. There's some stakes involved when it comes to, like, you know, Bianca Belair, who was, you know, formed an original tag team with Jade. And then that obviously Jade got injured, so she was gone. Naomi comes in, kind of takes over. They win a championship together. And it all kind of came to a head at Elimination Chamber with the way in which you've discovered something. And I'm curious to know what you're saying, what you're seeing.
Dude, we just had breaking news.
Is it wrestling breaking news?
Yes, it is wrestling breaking news.
Oh, give it to me.
So Triple H on the kickoff show is, you know, having a press conference with Legado del Fantasma, Andrade, Stephanie Vaquer, Rey Mysterio, Penta, Rey Fenix, LWO. And then we just got this comment by Jared on X that WWE has purchased Triple A.
Oh.
So WWE just went and bought a huge Mexican promotion, Triple A, and just announced it on the kickoff show.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's huge.
That's big.
That's huge.
Guys, what in the world?
I said it earlier, man. Triple H is a true believer. I grew up in the territory days of watching wrestling territories. He's a true believer that NWA territory days of sharing talent. We're seeing it with him and TNA right now. Now adding Triple A, sharing talent and funneling talent all around to get everybody together. Play a little football back in the day too.
Well, I mean, this is big.
This is
because
huge. This is just this is the start of their international pool, because I know that they've got training centers across, like, obviously they've planted one in Saudi Arabia. They've got a couple other ones around the globe that are starting up, but this one, especially in AAA, to even begin to do luchador style wrestling, which is what they've been pushing majority of this year and part of last year, and so many, like, great wrestlers that are coming out from that branch of it. This is huge for WWE, and it looks like that there is going to be a luchador style match, Worlds Collide in LA, June 7th, according to the telecast right now. So that's going to be another huge thing to feature the luchador presence in WWE. So this is a huge win for Triple H and the WWE TKO. This is huge.
Wow. And then El Hijo del Vikingo, one of the better Lucha Libre stars, who is a free agent. He's also been featured on AEW. He's also on the WrestleMania kickoff show, and I'm shocked by that, because I mean, if you know him, he is not conducive to the WWE style. He didn't even conduce to the AEW style. He wrestles his own way. Some of the other stars in AAA, a little controversial, because if you look at the SmackDown Hotel is what I use for my resource. El Hijo del Vikingo is one of those. Commander, who has wrestled for AEW. Roosh, who is the brother of Dragon Lee, a WWE superstar. Crazy Steve as well. LA Park, that character is there. But you also have some people who have been in WWE before. You have Matt Riddle, you have Nick Namath, you have Psychosis, you have Jinder Mahal, and probably more controversially, one of the bigger stars in AAA and in the Mexico region when it comes to wrestling is Alberto Del Rio. So, Sean, I know we Shawn, I know we just got hit with that news. Could you see like because they had some controversial exits from WWE, Alberto, Dolph Ziggler, Matt Riddle. Could you see any of those guys competing under the WWE banner?
I could. If you would ask me 3 years ago, I would say absolutely not. But I could. If CM Punk could come back to WWE after everything of how his career ended in WWE, getting fired on his wedding day, I think we all know that from the podcast he did. If he could come back to WWE, even after going to AEW, same thing with Cody, walking out the door of WWE, pretty much being one of the founding fathers of AEW, did a premium live event that topped the WWE event when they did the first show all in Chicago. If both of those guys, Triple H has allowed them to come back in the door, then you definitely can see Nick Demus, Dolph Ziggler, Matt Riddle, Alberto. You can definitely see those guys coming back in WWE through another promotion, that territory system, or farming them out over in a WWE match.
Yeah, and Wayne, the commish, if you will, surprise, surprise, WWE's keeping up with that other company. But Cody, you said it just a minute ago, like this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to their international and global reach and dominance. I mean, is this just another way for like he would be able to go ahead and like WWE just be the top of the top?
Yeah, 100%. And WWE, fortunately, since they were acquired by TKO, they have just continued to make leaps and bounds to be more up to date, more ahead of everybody else, creating additional opportunities because, you know, again, this is a luchador promotion, and sure, some former WWE superstars that now technically are back with WWE. Triple H is all about what makes business work, regardless of his feelings for you or your feelings towards him. That's why we have CM Punk back in the WWE, because it was more or less of when Vince McMahon was running operations that a lot of these wrestlers either couldn't go back, refused to go back. CM Punk is most notably known about, you know, how hostile it was when it was under his tutelage. And then Triple H, now that he's kind of taken over and he's now into the leadership role of spearheading this company, you're seeing them go on a global spectrum of WWE to really find talent, bring up that talent. But also, too, I do want to give WWE this credit. They may have acquired this and other promotions to where it's kind of like now they're, better for a term, farm system, but you don't feel like it's an all WWE promotion. It still feels like it's its own thing and can thrive as its own thing. It just so happens that it is being, you know, funded essentially and also promoted through WWE channels and all those connections. So that's another thing too, is WWE has been doing a really good job at, you know, purchasing these promotions, not really stamping the WWE label on them and then, like, you know, really ramming it down your throat. They're letting that promotion still run just with tutelage and guidance of a WWE, so that way they can be the most successful, whether it's with WWE, AEW, or whatever promotion will come in the future. But WWE is, again, hands down, like the number one promotion and company that is the leader in all of entertainment because of business deals like this and what they do for the wrestling community.
And there's yeah, my head is spinning right now because WWE is doing great things. By the way, shout out, appreciate you joining us. Everybody's wanting to yeet tonight as Jey Uso looks to become the world heavyweight champion in the opening match. We got about an hour and a half left of that. We got an hour left-ish of this pre-show, and we got hit with the breaking news. WWE purchased AAA, the Mexican promotion. Now we're getting more breaking news that Rey Mysterio is not medically cleared for tonight against El Grande Americano. They have been building this match for the last several weeks. El Grande Americano shows up to take down Lucha Libre, which is very fitting because AAA is now under WWE's umbrella. So Rey Mysterio is not competing tonight. Now, if you watched SmackDown last night, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, Rey Fénix was one of the final combatants in the Battle Royal until El Grande Americano interrupted, knocked him off the ropes, and eliminated. So instead of Rey Mysterio, we will get Rey Fénix replacing Rey Mysterio, and Rey Fénix will make his WrestleMania debut tonight against El Grande Americano. Whoa. This is quite the last 5 minutes. I've had the privilege to meet Ray Phoenix. Very heartwarming story with my dad, one of my dad's favorite wrestlers. And there was a convention we went to that was not very great. It wasn't WrestleCade, but I won't name drop the convention it was. And they just didn't organize the convention well. They wouldn't accept cash. They wouldn't let the wrestlers accept cash. You had to prepay to meet the wrestlers, but they never advertised that before going to the event. And for that reason, Ray Phoenix wouldn't be able to take a picture with me and my brother officially back in 2022. But what did happen was when we're like, hey, Dad, get in this picture, like he's your favorite. Me and my brother had to sell for a selfie with Ray Phoenix. But then as soon as Ray Phoenix found out that he was my dad's favorite wrestler, he's like, no, we're doing this. And he invites my dad behind the table and takes like an official picture. And I'm like, man, my dad, I was just your wingman with Ray Phoenix. Come on, Dad. Give me something. And Derek Pauly joined us afternoon as well. Good for the Lucha Bros. Ray Phoenix is making his WrestleMania debut, and Ray Phoenix isn't losing. And I guys, we have to jump to this because it's not going to be Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano anymore. It's going to be Rey Mysterio versus Ray Phoenix. Cody, are you cool with this? Are you cool with this move?
Well, first off, my heart goes out to Ray because I'm sure that Ray would have loved to compete at WrestleMania. And I think what we all saw too, and again, I allude to social media being something that makes you still feel included in the matches and in WWE universe. But obviously, I'm sure most of us saw clips of, Rey Mysterio obviously had a foot injury or some sort of injury in that Battle Royale where he was out of the match for majority of all of it. Him being in question to even compete was already up in the air. So I think some of us were probably already prepared for that, but my heart breaks for Rey Mysterio because, he also won a WWE title in a WrestleMania against The Undertaker. So, it sucks that we won't be able to continue to see the legacy that Ray is building on a WrestleMania stage. But Ray Phoenix coming in again, essentially a rookie, coming up against an imposter in Americano. Get this Starbucks coffee guy out of my face. I need to see Ray Phoenix absolutely just, teach him how real luchadors compete in the ring. And this is great for WWE because he's already been Phoenix has already been kind of introduced into WWE. Now it's going to be on a grander stage. So this coming out party is going to be huge for him. And I'm really looking forward to this. So I'm okay with the change because it's got to happen. But I think there's no better replacement than Phoenix, I think. So this is going to be a good one.
Oh, Ray Phoenix is incredible. If you guys haven't watched it and you're one of the casuals who pop in like football, you watch the Super Bowl and you watch WrestleMania, Ray Phoenix is going to wow you. And Wayne saying, I got to say, if Triple H does anything right, it's elevating talent from elsewhere. Vince used to bury them, but kudos to Triple H for recognizing talent. And Ray Phoenix is talent. It's very unfortunate. Rey Mysterio is not medically clear. He will miss WrestleMania 20 years after his historic one-on-one match against Eddie Guerrero opened WrestleMania 21. Instead, Rey Mysterio will be on the sidelines, and Ray Phoenix is replacing Rey Mysterio to face El Grande Americano. Sean, Wayne asked, do you think Chad Gable interferes during this match? Do you think we see a sighting of Chad Gable?
If WWE's able to pull it off, then they either out Houdini or somebody help them out with that. I would be shocked. But Ray Phoenix taking this match, and I got to go with Wayne. That's one thing I do like that Triple H does do. In the past, like you said with Vince buried guys from, if you came from TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan, and you don't even hear Michael Cole say that anymore. You might even say, you're on the big stage now, you're in WWE. You don't even hear them say that no more when guys from outside who have made their name in other companies come over. So good move for Ray Phoenix. It sucks for Rey Mysterio because like you, I really was looking forward to him being on Mania because I really thought that this would be good to keep building that America Grande character guy. But now with Ray Phoenix, America Grande after the night, if we don't see you no more, we won't be mad at all.
And I started to look, I'm like, wow, Penta's getting to debut at WrestleMania, and his brother obviously debuted a couple months later. And now he gets the opportunity. And I could have even went for Randy Orton versus Rey Fenix on night 2.
Yes.
We'll figure out who Randy Orton's opponent is for tomorrow. We'll probably talk about that more if it's not announced. But again, the breaking news, Rey Mysterio will miss WrestleMania tonight due to an injury. Worse, unfortunate timing, not only for him, but Kevin Owens as well. Was supposed to be Randy Orton's opponent. So this WrestleMania has been altered a couple times, but El Grande Americano, Rey Fenix, after the breaking news that WWE purchased AAA. So a lot has went down. And before we start talking about Rey Mysterio, Rey Fenix, El Grande Americano, we were talking about the women. So if you guys are joining us for the first time, we're covering everything WrestleMania for you guys right now on the Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel. And we're so thankful. Some of you guys have discovered us for the first time, and we cover a lot of wrestling content. We do a lot of sports content. We'll do NFL draft coverage next week. So we got a lot of things here brewing up for Boom Broadcasting. And we started the night talking about Gunther and Jey Uso. Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble, and everybody's like, why is he not in the main event? Well, guess what? The winner of the Women's Royal Rumble is also not in the main event, and is also not even opening the show. It's going to be somewhere in the middle. And whether that's their fault, whether that's just there's so many good matches, only one can open, only one can close. That's where Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair find themselves. Cody, how are you feeling about this match? Do you think this match has been treated unfairly just because of everything else going on? Or do you think they've been booked into a corner with the build-up to Tiffany and Charlotte?
Yeah, I think the build-up to this has been lackluster at best. I mean, if there's one match that I'm disappointed that hasn't gotten a better build or more respect in terms of like what these two athletes can do potentially in the ring, and for a championship, nonetheless, I think I'm disappointed with how rushed it feels and how unorganized it feels altogether. Now, granted, we have Charlotte Flair, who is a legend, a Hall of Famer if she were to retire today. So for sure, like we are going to get a good show. And Tiffany Stratton, who has obviously won the title, who is on the up and come up, and just, this could solidify her as one of the top, women wrestlers in today's age. But I think what I'm upset about is this build and the awkwardness behind it. Like the chemistry is just not there. At least I don't feel it. And I just don't believe it when I think that they have this animosity between one another. I think, unfortunately, Charlotte here is coming back from an injury. Clearly, everyone is, looking at Stratton to like keep up with Charlotte, but Charlotte is just kind of on another level when it comes to promos, competing, and Stratton just is kind of the underdog. But not because it's what it looks like in the match. It's just because that's how WWE's kind of booked it. And it's just kind of an awkward build, in my opinion. So I want to be more excited for this match, but WWE doesn't give me the excitement I was looking for. Whereas when we had the build with Naomi and Jade Gill, as what we were talking about before we had all the breaking news, like that build's more exciting than this one. But this one has more championship implications, which I should be more invested in.
And so that's why we do enjoy wrestling, is because, it's kind of up to them to make us buy into it, whether it's the wrestlers or it's the company and the amount of effort, because let's be honest, they have put a lot of effort into the main event for tonight, which is the triple threat, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. And we will cover that. Do not worry one bit. But Shawn, as somebody who loves women's wrestling, do you think they didn't get a fair shake from the company, or was it more on Tiffany and Charlotte under delivering?
I think they didn't get a fair shake, and I think it was more under-delivering. Like Cody just said, Tiffany is a rookie. I really thought they had a good chance building this matchup like they did with Jade and Naomi, letting the promo work, help it out. I just really thought they could have sold the rookie Tiffany's the champion versus now the queen coming back to claim her throne. And I felt like both of them got lost. Now, I will go back 3 weeks ago on that SmackDown where I think Tiffany kind of went into business for herself, when she made that comment that Charlotte 0-3 in marriage. I thought after that, I said, okay, now we're cooking. Now we got something going. Let's build off of that. But it still just kind of went flatline. And no disrespect to Tiffany, but I just feel if the Prodigy was in her spot right now, I think the Prodigy could have carried it just a little bit more as that young up-and-coming talent and said, I'm the champ, and I'm going to knock off Charlotte, let you know why I am the champ, versus what we got from Tiffany going into this whole thing since Charlotte won. I think that's where the ball got dropped. I think if the different person was in this position, it could have been more betterly built than what we got between Tiffany and Charlotte.
Cody, do you think you would have replaced one of these women in the match?
I think I don't know about replace, but I think maybe in terms of like the title fight, I think I might have switched up. Like Charlotte Flair maybe going up against Rhea Ripley as a rematch, I think would have been very interesting.
Yes.
And I think maybe Tiffany Stratton going against Io Sky or Bianca, I think would be very interesting. If nothing else changed, I think Tiffany Stratton with Bianca, I think that is a more interesting bout. And I think, Rhea Ripley getting, Charlotte Flair getting a rematch on Rhea Ripley, because Rhea Ripley is the one that dethroned Charlotte Flair. I think that one is an interesting story tell to begin with. But I think what WWE, struggled with was because when Rhea Ripley lost to Io Sky, it kind of volleyed everything up in the air. And then, of course, in the Elimination Chamber, the winner of that essentially gets a title opportunity. So, then you have, Bianca Belair, who's able to choose who she wants. So, and again, maybe that's an opportunity for WWE to kind of look at booking and storylines and maybe divert it in a certain way. But I don't know if I would change these two particular. I just feel like the build could have been handled better.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting perspective, because I feel like, and this is just me personally, I feel like Charlotte Flair, and somebody, came at me, King Rome, when we were doing Drop the Mic WrestleMania Predictions Night 1 on Wednesday. I was like, Charlotte, just hasn't been around. So, did she earn it? And then King Rome Pros, do you think Rehab didn't earn her this opportunity to make it back for the Royal Rumble? And I get that, but there are other people to showcase. I don't know if you could have put Roxanne Perez in this situation. But I mean, Chelsea Green has been doing work. She's the Women's United States champion. Where is she? Jade Cargill and Naomi are in a non-title match. Selena Vega is available. I don't know if I would have loved Michin in this spot, but you have Alexa Bliss, who returned a few months ago at the Royal Rumble, and they haven't done anything with. To me, I would have loved to see a more contrast, because Tiffany and Charlotte, I feel like Tiffany's blonde, Charlotte's blonde, and WWE was like, hey, they look similar. Let's just throw them into a match together and say Tiffany's trying to be like Charlotte. And Cody, I don't think that's a basis to get me excited.
No.
WWE could have done better.
I think they should have started this feud before Royal Rumble. I think what it was is everyone kind of figured Charlotte Flair would be coming back. And Tiffany Stratton has been compared to Charlotte Flair since she's kind of debuted, and she's as talented. I'm going to say Tiffany Stratton is a talented wrestler for sure. She's a champion for a reason. She's kind of coming into her own. I wouldn't say she's as good on promos as Charlotte Flair is, but that's going to come with time and experience. But what I would say is, imagine if Charlotte Flair returned a PLE sooner to confront Tiffany Stratton about a title thing, and then you see Charlotte Flair having to prove that she deserves a title opportunity by then going into the Royal Rumble and then obviously winning it, and then choosing Stratton because she wants to put down the new person. And now we kind of get more of a proper build in terms of all right, I'm coming after this title. I already know the comparisons. You're not on my level kind of a thing. And Tiffany Stratton, rather than her essentially campaigning to be chosen, it's more or less of there's already this underlining animosity that it was already baked in. And now we're just we're ready for it to kick off, rather than it feels forced. And I think that's why it doesn't feel natural.
I agree, Cody. It feels a little forced. Shawn, where do you think WWE could go from here? Obviously, we'll do our predictions towards the very tail end, but when you look at, the next 3 months, you look at the next 6 months, do you see Tiffany and Charlotte staying in the main event picture, or do you think one of them falls off, or even one takes time away from the ring?
One falls off, and I think whoever loses the match tonight, what I'll just say is, if Charlotte wins, Tiffany definitely falls out of that main event picture. You know, we always say some people make the title, and the title makes them. For Tiffany, the title makes her. And I really wish she could have held on that Money in the Bank just a little bit longer and maybe cashed in a different time. For like if this match was going on with Charlotte and Roxanne, or Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, cashed in then and made a little bit more about it. But I think if she loses tonight, she definitely falls off and kind of goes back down to that lower card tier, or either that mid card with going against Chelsea Green or Valkyria in that range, and kind of see that she's not somebody they think could carry that heavyweight title and carry the division.
There's obviously probably going to be some NXT call-ups as well.
Yes.
There was a incredible fail four-way match for the NXT women. You had Jordan Grace, you had Julia, you had Stephanie Vaquer. I am blanking on the other one right now. It will come to me in just a second, because we had Julia, we had Stephanie Vaquer, we had Jordan Grace. Who was that other one?
I'm thinking about the Mid-Atlantic match now.
Julia, Stephanie Vaquer, Jordan Grace. I know it's going to come to me here in just a second.
Yeah, I'm stuck on an island without a buoy, guys. I'm sorry, I don't know.
I'm stuck on SoCal in that other match she was in. You had,
dude, how cool was that, by the way?
Jada Parker.
Jada Parker.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
It was Jada Parker. And so I'm not going to be that guy, but she was probably going to be the one we look back on in 10 years and we're like, who was that fourth woman in that match? I mean, if you look at the NXT women of just like how talented they are, I mean, they even had a women's ladder match. Again, you just brought up Sol Ruka in that ladder match. I mean, the women's card is stacked because, I mean, you had Sol Ruka, you had Izzy Dame, you had Kalani Jordan, Lola Vice, Thea Hill, Zarya. You had the women's fail four-way tag team match that was elimination style on the pre-show. Gigi Dolan, Tatum Paxley, Fatal Influence, Metaphor. Like, you had, and I didn't even mention Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez were also on. Like, there was more women on that card than there were men. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at the state of the women's division, like moving forward, those are all people who are going to move up to the main roster, if not in the next year, then the next 2 years. So we don't have to rely on Charlotte Flair, who has her 8th championship match at WrestleMania, which I believe is like second all time across men or women. So that's impressive for a woman to have that many, but WWE won't have to rely on Charlotte Flair coming in, win a Royal Rumble, and challenging the next up-and-coming star. They are making stars in NXT, and I think that's going to prove really good for the women's division. And, you know, a division we haven't talked about much this episode is the tag team division. Now, I will talk about the World Tag Team titles here in just a second, but last night on SmackDown, they did announce that there was going to be a tag team title match between the Street Profits, DIY, and the Mercy Machine Guns next Friday on SmackDown. And I was like, okay, cool. But then they made it a TLC match.
Yes.
And then I got upset because the TLC match was made synonymous with tag team wrestling and WrestleMania in general, between Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, and Cody. We could have had a really good nostalgic moment with 3 of the current tag teams, but they're like, hey, let's just get rid of it next week on SmackDown. On a scale of 1 to pepperoni, how upset are you at this being on SmackDown and not at WrestleMania?
Well, not pepperoni, but this is a Draboni move. Like that should have been, that is a WrestleMania match that needs to have been booked. And don't get me wrong, like War Raiders and the New Day, who have kind of wasted their heel turn, if I'm being honest. Like, I feel like they should have had more of a threatening presence within the tag team division. But even just what you just mentioned about it being next Friday, like that sounds awesome for a Friday show, but you have WrestleMania literally right in front of you. Like ladder matches, TLC matches, those are synonymous with WrestleMania. I mean, obviously the Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, like that's a nostalgia thing that we remember seeing those matches. This generation of tag team that I would argue is more athletic and more high flying. Can you imagine what they could have done with tables, ladders, and chairs? Oh my, that would have been epic. So this is, again, I think what we're kind of very similar to the Tiffany Stratton and the Charlotte Flair conversation that we just had. A huge kind of missed opportunity with what WWE could be. And maybe that's just because there's so much focus on other storylines that they're kind of leaving out the tag team division, because there are some quality teams in tag team that should be featured in WrestleMania. And a match that could have done so is not going to happen on the grandest stage of them all. It's going to happen the following Friday. And that's kind of a disappointing letdown as well.
Yeah, I could not have said it any better myself. I'm disappointed. And Sean, we're at a point where WrestleMania is 2 nights, and there's going to be 7 matches on each show, especially with Randy Orton showing up tomorrow night, wanting to lace up his boots and challenge anybody to a match at WrestleMania. But I feel like you could have inserted that triple threat TLC match, because that's WrestleMania. Like, no offense, you could have, at the time, Rey Mysterio and El Grande Americano, you could have had that on Raw.
Yes.
You could have even had, as much as I like LA Knight and Jacob Fatu, you could have had that on SmackDown.
Yes.
You could even have this World Tag Team title match between the War Raiders and New Day on Monday Night Raw, the Raw after WrestleMania.
Yes.
But instead, you're leaving off a TLC triple threat tag team match off WrestleMania, the same show that made that match.
I'm a little upset about that when they announced it was going to be TLC, because I'm like you guys, you could have pulled that War Raiders and the New Day, moved to the Monday after Mania, and still if the War Raiders won or the New Day went over, still could have made it big for them. Or you could have said that could be our SmackDown match. Hey, yes, these are the Raw Tag Champs, but we're going to let them cross over to SmackDown, use that transfer portal window they love to use so much during this time of season, and so we're going to have this match on SmackDown. A TLC match deserves to be on SmackDown. And another thing I'm upset with WWE is, isn't like back in the 90s when you had 3 hours to get all this stuff done. You're on the streaming out with Peacock. Peacock allows you X amount of hours of X amount of programming to get it done. So you can even still, even though we know Triple H like 7 card night matches on the card, you could have still inserted this match in and did 8 on night 2 or 8 on night 1, 7 on night 2. So this could have been inserted. I think this is a very big letdown on WWE. And I always say, when they get it right, they get it right. But when they get it wrong, they definitely get it wrong. And this is one of the times they definitely got it wrong with this match, especially the Street Profits, Motor City Machine Gun, definitely should not have been left off of WrestleMania. And in DIY, the Gargano and Ciampa, they should not have been left off also.
Yeah, and that's entirely true, especially the work they've done for that SmackDown tag team division is just insane. And so, yeah, like, I don't want to be that guy who likes to complain, because at the end of the day, after this weekend, my wrestling fandom is going to be rejuvenated. I'm going to be super excited for Monday's Raw. And I mean, it's just going to be an incredible experience for a wrestling fan. And so I don't like the negative talk, but I will hold a company accountable when they miss the mark. And, you know, this is still going to be an incredible show. By the way, we want to shout out everyone who has been watching. We have nearly 300 people across socials, including half of you, 150 plus of you tune in and find us on Boom Broadcasting's YouTube channel. If this is the first time you're joining us, be sure to hit subscribe. It costs you nothing, but we cover wrestling. We'll cover the NFL draft next weekend. We'll do a pre-show similar to this tomorrow for WrestleMania Night 2. And we might even touch on what happens during WrestleMania Night 1. And one of the people joining us right now is Michael. Did you hear the news of the new acquisition? Yes, we cover this. WWE acquired AAA. If you guys missed that, it was a huge groundbreaking announcement. And Rey Mysterio is hurt. He has been replaced in the El Grande Americano match by Rey Fenix. You see that scrolling down on the bottom right here now. Michael, I met him a couple nights ago, actually, at a little bonfire here locally, and he was super nice, very welcoming. That was my first time hanging out with that group of people, and he wore a UNC hat, and I was like, that's your first mistake.
Yes, very big mistake.
And then I'm around a group of guys, and they're talking. They're like, so you cover the fantasy football on your podcast? And then somebody's like, oh, you have a wrestling podcast too? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, isn't WrestleMania this weekend? And so I start talking. And this guy, still wearing that ugly UNC hat, starts dropping some real hardcore, diehard wrestling stuff on me. And I'm like, hold up. Why didn't you lead with this? I mean, I judged a book by its cover. I was like, there is not a guy who respects himself enough to wear a UNC hat. And of course, he's a wrestling fan. And he's also named Michael. So me and Michael obviously bonded. And I appreciate him, just hanging out, talking. He was super nice. Hopefully we can get together again soon and you enjoy WrestleMania. If you haven't, hop over to Michael and anyone else, hop over to the Boom Broadcasting YouTube, hit subscribe. We're also streaming on Drew Code Sports Talk. Hit subscribe there. He does a lot of football content. He's a big Raiders guy, so I'm sure he's going to enjoy WrestleMania being at Allegiant Stadium, the home of the Las Vegas Raiders. We're also taking over Mouthing Off with Mike, his Twitter. He's actually at WrestleMania today, so he didn't have any say in it. We just hacked his Twitter. He can't do anything about it. He's going to get to experience WrestleMania in person live, so I think he got the better trade-off. Just mentioned these tag team titles for SmackDown are not being defended this weekend. Instead, we're going to have to wait another week for a TLC match that might even be cut into commercials. That I'm upset about. But we do have a tag team match, the War Raiders and the New Day. Now, if you are a casual, you haven't watched it in a few years, this isn't your same old New Day. This isn't your same old War Raiders. They have dropped the Viking gimmick. They are just two hard-hitting dudes. And the New Day are two broken-hearted dudes because one of their best friends broke his neck and apparently purposefully broke his neck and left them behind. So there is a lot of animosity there. This is kind of crazy that we're here. I never imagined a heel New Day. And we'll talk tomorrow what a heel John Cena looks like for the current product. But with the New Day, Cody, I don't know how much you got to watch the New Day. Were you a big fan of the trio? Do you like this heel tag team that's come across our TVs? How do you feel about the New Day?
So the New Day, when they first formed, I thought was a very strange fraction. I just thought, okay, this is an interesting thing. And little by little, they have taken over the hearts of the WWE universe. As you know, they're a multi-time tag team champions. They've been in several great matches. And I think that one of the things about the group that was fun is they all rooted for one another's success. When Kofi won the title, when Big E won the title, I mean, Xavier Woods, he hasn't really won a major singles title, but he's still a functioning part of that group. And then, again, Big E having that major neck injury that's pretty much sidelined him for the better part of a couple of years now. It's about time that New Day turned heel, but I think what's disappointing is New Day is still New Day. They're losing matches, and they had a huge heel turn where literally everyone was upset about how they treated Big E when Big E was trying to make sure that they come together when they were celebrating the 10th anniversary of New Day. And of course, Kofi and Xavier, they just turned their back on Big E because they're accusing Big E of turning his back on them. But I think what's interesting about the New Day is they are still around all these years. And I think a testament to their ability to change what they need to do, still be competitive, and also have an opportunity to get another title run. And I think I'm hoping that they capitalize on it. And again, I'll give predictions at the end of the show, but I'm hoping if they make the most of this opportunity, what the heel turn now will look like as them as champions, if that's what the case is. So very curious to see what the New Day, but the War Raiders, though, these guys are not the old Viking Raiders of before. These guys, they mean business and they will crush opponents. So they should watch out.
And Shawn, I don't know if you got your box of Bootios. I don't know if you got your box of Bootios, but this is the New Day that I grew up on, loved. They captured the hearts. They really they brought back the Freebird rule where
Yes.
you could have Kofi and Big E. I felt like that was the main tag team, but you could sprinkle in Xavier Woods and they all worked together.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since, as if I was to try this cereal now, ever since Big E got hurt, I feel like they had gotten stale. And if I had ate this cereal today on live stream, then I'd probably be like, this tastes really stale, and I'm going to feel really sick for WrestleMania. And this match might be my bathroom break, not by choice. But when it comes to this New Day, how do you feel about the heel New Day? And do you think this has brought new life to this tag team?
No, it has not. And I remember when the New Day first started as heels. First of all, they overcame a gimmick that way they started supposed to be 3 Southern Baptist preachers and overcame that to get it where they elevated to be a good heel team. Because you got to remember back then, they were teaming with Rollins. Well, they won tonight when Rollins unified the U.S. title and the heavyweight title beating Cena. And they were a good heel team. Then they overcame to give being a good heel team now to being one of arguably the greatest babyface tag teams in WWE. And when I knew that, I felt the heel run was coming because you just kept saying they got to go heel because they've been babyface so long. I really thought the WWE would capitalize on this, having them win a bunch of matches on Monday Night Raw, beating some of those underneath teams. Don't disrespect the Pretty Deadly. Guys like that, beat some teams like that to really start building them up and building that resume. But like Cody said, they just have wasted their time. They left that night when they turned on Big E with the world in their hands as probably the hottest heels going in to any next Monday Night Raw. And since then, they just plummeted and stopped. Depending on how it goes tonight could be the breaking point to see if we see New Day kind of vanish off our TVs for a while, or if we see them now progress on saying, okay, we gave them the straps. Let's see what they can do now as the heel tag champs. And can we now build up a good babyface team, if it's not the War Raiders, to dethrone them at SummerSlam or Survivor Series?
And do you think the New Day could ever turn babyface, Cody? Shawn, you're saying yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if New Day can turn babyface as a team. I think maybe individually New Day would have to separate, kind of like what the Shield did when their first iteration. They were together, they were kind of a heel, and then all baby faces. They all went their own way because of something, and then they came back, and they were kind of baby faces at that point because, again, they're returning. I think if the New Day did something similar to that, I think that's when they recapture being baby faces. But they can't just go baby face, cold turkey, so to speak, like off it today. It's just not going to work because, again, people are going to remember not too long ago when they completely disrespected Big E and does want to be back. And again, to Shawn's credit, a huge heel turn moment. But if they did go turn baby face, they would have to do it as individuals, come back and a group like later down the line, but it's not happening immediately.
And shout out Podcast Smitty, host of Quick Hits, dropped his episode yesterday. It's available on Boom Broadcasting, covering Paige going #1 in the WNBA draft to Dallas, covering Rory McIlroy finally win the green jacket. And so there's a lot of stuff that's on Boom Broadcasting. So if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel and you're joining us for the first time, over 160 of you have joined Boom Broadcasting on YouTube today. So if you're not sub, hit that sub button. It's completely free, but it'll alert you when we're live streaming tomorrow for Night 2 WrestleMania. And we'll cover a little bit what happened during tonight's show, and then we'll preview what's tomorrow. And Podcast made shocked that Cody's a wrestling fan. He's got the Stone Cold shirt. What are you talking about? There's 316 viewers who have watched this live stream, by the way. And that's quite the remark, even though it just jumped to like 318. But sorry, guys.
That was a quick turn.
That was a very quick turn. But yeah, we're all wrestling fans. And if you're not, and you're like, hey, what is this? WrestleMania is the perfect time to either get introduced or reintroduced to the product. And we have an incredible show for you. And I mentioned we had night 1 tonight, night 2 tomorrow, and we still have the main event to talk about. But I did want to ask you guys, when it comes to night 1 or night 2, hopefully I have you guys join me tomorrow as we cover night 2. But which night are you most excited for when it comes to WrestleMania? Either night 1 headlined by Reigns, Punk, and Rollins, or night 2 headlined by a face Cody Rhodes versus a heel John Cena. Both nights are stacked, but is there one you're more apt to, Cody?
Oh man, that's tough. I think night 2 has a very exciting card that I can't wait to see from start to finish, in my opinion. But there is one match for me in night 1 that is making me so excited that night 1 could be my favorite night just based on this one match, and that's the triple threat with CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. This has been a masterful build by WWE, Triple H, creative team. Chef's kiss for this one. This has been literally woven from 10 years of just history. Paul Heyman. To me, like, this storyline and this main event, to me, even though it's one match, that's how big this match is in terms of magnitude. For it could potentially be the match of both night 1 and night 2, which when people think of WrestleMania 41, they're going to think of this match. That's how I think big that match is, that I hope that we're talking about, and it's going to come from night 1, which makes me so excited about tonight.
Wow. And if you think about night 1 main events, they've always kind of like led into night 2.
Yes.
But it's never seen as like the main event. And Seth has dropped in his promos this week, like, hey, this is the biggest triple threat in our industry. And I thought that was very interesting because Seth was technically a part of a triple threat with Roman 10 years ago at WrestleMania 31 when he cashed in on Roman and Brock Lesnar's match and then had the heist of the century. So he even thinks this is bigger than that. Shawn, do you agree with that statement of the triple threat being as big?
I do. And I mean, night 1 to me is the bigger night. If you go back, Punk's never main event in WrestleMania. Even the WrestleMania where he fought Taker during the streak, to me, that was my main event that night. I felt like Punk should have closed the show. They didn't give it to him. But you know the magnitude of this one match when Paul Heyman announces on SmackDown during the contract signing, CM Punk, your main event in WrestleMania, and Paul Heyman breaks character and goes into tears. That's how big that match is. I mean, no disrespect. I really thought if they didn't have this match, and of course, you would say night 2, a heel John Cena versus a hot Cody Rhodes. But to have Punk main event in WrestleMania after all these years, after all the things he's gone through, leaving the company on bad terms, pretty much leaving AEW on bad terms, even though it wasn't his fault that it was bad terms for what he got into a little backstage scuffle back there, but leaving AEW that way and pretty much saying, here's a guy now we probably will never see lace up his boots. He's out of WWE. He's out of AEW. He probably won't end up in TNA or New Japan, Ring of Honor. So this is it. And now seeing him come back to WWE and within a year of being back, now main event, this makes night 1 even bigger for him as a fan of CM Punk, who's watched him when he started off straight edge to now.
Yeah, and that is our main event, as you guys are seeing. Shout out to Muhammad joining us. He's giving us the thumbs up here on YouTube for our WrestleMania Kickoff show. We are live streaming, so shout out Muhammad. If you comment, you get a shout out. And I want to give a shout out to our 3 new subscribers for Boom Broadcasting ever since we went live at 4:30 Eastern. We're not far ahead. We are less than an hour away from WrestleMania. And so I do want to also give a shout out to Christopher, who says he subscribed on his phone. If you guys comment, I see the number tick up for the subscriptions and you tell me you've subscribed, I'll give you a shout out on air as well. But this is a triple threat that's main eventing. We talked about Jey Uso, Gunther not main eventing. We talked about Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair not main eventing. It's because this is the biggest triple threat that people are, talking about. Cody believes this is going to be the match that symbolizes WrestleMania 41 for years to come. But we're not strangers to triple threat matches at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 20 had one with Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Redacted. You had a triple threat match at WrestleMania 30. Batista, Randy Orton, and Daniel Bryan in the Miracle on Bourbon Street.
Yes.
And
night.
You've had Roman Reigns, Edge, Daniel Bryan, the first WrestleMania since the pandemic, WrestleMania 37. Like, you've had some really symbolic triple threat matches, main event a show, and this is the first triple threat main event that isn't for a title, but it's just that big. Also, shout out Muhammad joining us from Ghana. That's pretty good. What time is it there? I mean, I don't know what time
early
it is
morning
there.
Over there.
Got to be.
I mean,
it's got to be like in the AM somewhere. Good shout out to Muhammad though for tuning in. Thank you.
Dude, that is
10:16 p.m. on Saturday in Ghana right now.
Oh shoot. He's going to be up all night watching WrestleMania. Good for him.
Good for him.
Wow. Yeah, really good for him. I know all these international pay-per-views. I love the crowd, but sometimes it's like, man, I'm watching at like 1 o'clock and then I got to move my day around. Or there's some like weird, like 7 a.m. start time. I'm like, I can't get up early enough for this because I'm a night owl. So shout out all the international fans who are a lot more dedicated than I am, like Muhammad right there. Podcast Smitty, WWE did purchase AAA. We heard that news break while we were live streaming on air. Who knows the news that could break here in the next few minutes as we're talking WrestleMania, and what news will break tomorrow when we're back here on Boom Broadcasting. Live streaming will also be on Mouthing Off with Mike Swear if we can hack that. Drew Code Sports Talks YouTube channel if we can have Cody on again. That would be incredible. But Reigns, Punk, Rollins, triple threat match. Do you think 10 a.m. shout out? Hey, we love you as well. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you,
and
dude.
your support. It is awesome. Share this link with your friends as well. Triple threat. Do you think this is going to be the biggest triple threat in WWE history? Where do you think this ranks, Cody? Because you're pretty high on it.
Very high on it. I mean, one triple threat match that sticks out to me, and it's not a WrestleMania, it's just in general, there was a phenomenal triple threat match. I want to say it was Vengeance in 2001 or 2002 with Taker, Kurt Angle, and The Rock. That, to me, is like one of the top tier triple threat matches at all time that I've seen, just because the storytelling, all three of those guys in their prime, running, going for the undisputed title at the time. To me, this is up there just because Roman Reigns, the OTC, the tribal chief. By the way, I think we don't appreciate Roman enough for how much of a performer he is, a promoter, and also just a guy of like the amount of like power that he brings into this match in and of itself. Like Rollins and CM Punk, those are like everyday guys. When Roman Reigns steps in the ring, it just, everyone's elevated. He's on God mode, like he would say. So to me, this triple threat with all three of these guys, and each guy has a history with one another. And you got Paul Heyman, who is, coming in for CM Punk, but the wise man for Roman Reigns. But is he gonna, flip on both of them and go now run with Seth Rollins? Like, there's so much that could happen in this. And that's, to me, why this triple threat could be one of the top ones that we've seen in WWE's history.
And Roman Reigns is in his prime. Seth Rollins is in his prime. CM Punk, while he's not in his prime, I don't know how he was able to keep up the physical component, but it looks like he hasn't missed a beat either, Sean. And I think that also plays into this being one of the bigger triple threat matches.
I think so. I said it earlier, Taker and Michaels on 25 is my favorite WrestleMania match. Depending on how this one goes tonight, either it can tie it or it can break it and become my favorite WrestleMania match. Because you look at all three competitors. You got Roman, the longest reigning champ in WWE history in this era right here. CM Punk, the guy from my generation that I'm still holding on to, that when he left WWE and I was at Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, those house shows, I was the one yelling, "Let's go Cena, bring back Punk." I was one of those guys in the crowd yelling that. Then you look at Seth Rollins, the indie guy, the guy who made his mark in the indies. Everybody knew him as Tyler before he came to WWE, a big indie guy that we all follow in the indies. So you're looking at Seth saying this is the generational match right here to pretty much see who is going to be the leading pack on that Mount Rushmore leading us into this next era of wrestling out of this match. I think arguably this will be the biggest one we seen. Seth cashed in and making that triple threat match with Roman and Brock. That was big. Heist, the biggest heist of the century. Miracle on Bourbon Street, still probably one of the best feel-good moments that WWE has done, besides the night when Eddie and Chris Benoit, two guys from WCW, win the World Heavyweight and WWE titles on Mania. But I think this one right here is going to be the moveset of saying whoever wins this match, we will start saying now is in that conversation of the greatest of all time through the WWE tunnels.
This is going to be one of the coolest nights, and especially Shawn, you were talking about, and even Cody. Also, Muhammad, correction, 10:20 p.m. 10:20 p.m.
That's all right. You're watching. We still appreciate it.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's even better. And Podcast Me recommends coffee at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. because I mean you're probably going to go who knows what 3 a.m.
He needs to call Chris Jericho and get a little bit of the bubbly.
A little bit of bubbly. Speaking of calling in favors, there's a lot of favors that could happen tonight. And I think the biggest storyline going into it is Paul Heyman owing CM Punk a favor, Paul Heyman having the option to give Seth Rollins a favor, but Paul Heyman being the wise man to his OTC, his tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Guys, there's this weird favor going on. We know that Paul Heyman's going to walk into WrestleMania with CM Punk, but who is Paul Heyman walking out with? Does it dictate whether it's the winner or loser? Where does Paul Heyman's allegiances lie after tonight, Cody?
Oh, this is fun. Okay, so I actually think that the swerve is going to happen from Paul Heyman. And as I alluded to earlier, just in the couple minutes that we were just talking about this, I would not be surprised if we see Paul Heyman walk out of WrestleMania with Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins has decided that he's going to rely on Paul Heyman to get him over the top to be the champion again, depending on who the winner is again of night 2. And we'll talk about that next episode or next live stream. But I would not be surprised if the new Wiseman, advisor, best friend, call him what you want, Paul Heyman is going to ride with Seth Rollins following WrestleMania to get Seth Rollins on a legit heel turn, which I want to do a callback to Drop the Mic with you, Michael, and King Rome, where basically said that a full-fledged heel turn would go. I'm buying into that, so I do think so. That's what I would say is Paul Heyman's walking out with Seth Rollins.
Wow. And shout out right here. How many hours to WrestleMania? We're about 37 minutes away. We're in the final hour before WrestleMania. And so this is your home for the kickoff pre-show live stream for WrestleMania right here on Boom Broadcasting. We're doing one right now for night 1. We'll do one tomorrow for night 2. And when you've watched WrestleMania, you'll want to join us tomorrow so we can talk about night 1, what happened on Saturday, and then preview what happened on Sunday as well. And shout out, we just got another subscriber to Boom Broadcasting. We're up to 507. We've gotten 4 new friends and new family members here in the last couple hours while we've been live streaming for you guys covering WrestleMania right here. So this is quite the time. We love this, by the way. This isn't work to us. We don't get paid for this. We're just guys who love talking about our passions, and one of our huge passions is wrestling. And what better way to do it than WrestleMania weekend, the biggest weekend for WrestleMania fans. Mouthing off with Mike, we're also streaming on his Twitter account. He is our on-site field reporter for WrestleMania. He's getting into the building now, finding his seat, getting his hot dog, getting his popcorn, maybe a handshake or two. He's been on WWE socials over the last couple of days as well. But Shawn, Paul Heyman, you and I are both big Paul Heyman guys.
Yes.
I mean, he is our wise man. He's been our advocate. He's been our best friend. where would you see Paul Heyman going after WrestleMania 41?
The easy thing is to say this, walking out with Seth. I don't think so. I think Paul walks in with CM Punk, Punk's first main event on Mania. Paul walks out with CM Punk. I say Paul's staying with Punk. I really feel in my heart of hearts right now that he's not going to turn on Punk tonight.
Poor Roman's going to get left out in the cold, man. This guy has done nothing but carry Paul Heyman, and this is what his wise man does to him. Man,
dude, everybody betrays Roman. I mean, Seth Rollins, Muhammad, don't you turn your back on Roman. We will not turn our back on our tribal chief. We are Roman fans. Podcast May saying, welcome to new subscribers. You're all the ultimate gentlemen, as that's a callback to wrestling being the ultimate gentleman sport. We do have some breaking news that just dropped. Rick 8-Bits message on YouTube says Becky, I believe he means Bayley, is out for the tag team match. She was jumped backstage. So apparently Bayley will not be Lyra Valkyria's tag team partner. Wow. And that match is slated for tomorrow. Match is slated for tomorrow. So who knows over the next 24 hours if Bayley is going to be okay to compete in the tag team match. And Rick 8-Bit's already calling it now, Becky Lynch to be a replacement. I mean, guys, I'm down if you're down. It's been a while since we saw Becky Lynch.
That would be great.
What? You can't hate on Becky.
Sean with the swerve on us. What?
I get tired of Becky, man. I get tired of the man gimmick. I'm tired of it. She's been gone, and I mean, Becky's the ultimate. I like Becky when she was standing in that ring that night after Nia punched that bloody nose in the crowd. That's the Becky I like. But now I'm like, even with her gone, do I want to come back and see her again?
Wow.
Yeah.
You just said the best, Mike. It's so many people in NXT. You can plug in this spot now. The Prodigy, Roxanne, anybody.
That's true. There is a ton of talent, but I mean, Becky Lynch, though, the man, I mean, shoot, the one that's dethroned Charlotte a number of times. I mean, her coming back for WrestleMania, I think would be great.
I guess I get mad with Becky because I just think about when she came back to Mania and she squashed Bianca in 3 seconds.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what kind of made man like, if you're going to bring her back, at least bring her back and do a competitive match. At least make it 10 minutes. But squash somebody.
Bianca got her back, though, didn't she? Or did Bianca get her back, I thought?
She won, but she didn't squash her. She won, but she didn't squash her.
Yeah, the squash thing is hard to come back from. That's not a great play.
Yeah, I really don't. And you saw that a lot more with the other guy in charge.
Yes.
But less now that Triple H is in charge. But yeah, I am not upset if Becky is the surprise partner for Lyra Valkyria. I think that makes more sense, especially with both of them being from Irish backgrounds. Becky was supposed to be there for Raw on Netflix, wasn't there. Becky was supposed to be at the Royal Rumble, wasn't there. So if Bayley's out, Becky Lynch comes in. Maybe there's a Becky and Bayley feud because maybe Becky took Bayley out. You could go so many different ways. Podcast Smitty, speaking of NXT, who watched Stand and Deliver earlier this afternoon. He's a big Sol Ruca fan. She is probably one of the up-and-coming stars who will be on the main roster here in the next couple years. And she, just the amount of athleticism, she has a really great finish that she can hit on anybody. She's one of the next people for the women's division. And Tom, he's the man. Why even have Bayley and Lyra team up if you're just going to take her out? Right. That's a good question. Cody, there's been a lot of changes.
Could we put Bliss in there? Would you rather see Bliss than Becky? I would.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think what we've talked about, and again, no shade to WWE, we agree that WrestleMania, the top event of their sport, and this is a fun time. But as we've acknowledged, most of this show is their booking ability and the storytelling. Some mid cards get lost in the shuffle. I think this is one of them. Kind of poor planning. This was kind of thrown together, and now they're kind of taking it away. So, I mean, I would agree with Shawn, like maybe a couple of different avenues. And, again, to Tom here, yeah, good point. Like, why put them together if you're going to take it away? And I think that's just WWE. There's so much that they're trying to work with, and mid cards, lower cards are just going to be the first ones to get cut. I don't know. Maybe they did to make room for the show for something else.
And hopefully not. Like, hopefully we don't have this match completely taken away. I would rather see a replacement like Becky Lynch, and Podcast Me even bringing up Chelsea Green.
Yeah,
maybe.
Chelsea would be nice.
We're that would be cool to see the Intercontinental and United States women's champions team up. And even though Chelsea and Lyra probably don't get along, Chelsea will do anything to get on WrestleMania, and that is for sure. Also, shout out Tom, who's joining us. We're streaming on Mouth Off with Mike socials. He does the Nightcaps for Boom Broadcasting, but we're also streaming on Boom Broadcasting's YouTube channel. Now, it is 6:30. We're about 30 minutes away from WrestleMania 41, and so I know everybody wants to go get their grub, get their meal. So we're going to be quick with these predictions, rapid fire, Fox on NFL Sunday style, and get you everything that you need. But Tom saying they could have just had Bayley versus Roxanne. They scrapped that and do nothing. Okay, Sean's probably
there
the
you
guy.
Go. There's some more Prodigy fans out there, man. She is the future of women's wrestling. She comes from reality wrestling. She's been groomed by Booker T. Sky's the future for the Prodigy, man. Sky is the future.
Man, Sean was ranting and raving about why not have Roxanne in a premiere match this weekend. Instead, she was on the NXT Stand Deliver kickoff show, teaming and then losing in the Fatal 4-Way for an opportunity at the women's tag titles. So maybe Roxanne was mad about losing, so she attacked Bayley so she can team with Lyra Valkyrie. Who knows? Hey, Roxanne attacks Bayley. I mean, I could see it. But before we get in these predictions, is anybody cooking some special grub tonight for WrestleMania Super Bowl style? Cody, you probably won't see your Raiders in a Super Bowl anytime soon, but you got any Super Bowl dishes you like to fix tonight?
Well, my wife's Filipina, so we usually have a lot of Filipino dishes, which is great. Although you can't go wrong with some wings, of course. That's probably my go-to. And any pizza, any deep dish pizza, it's great. Michael, I don't want you to be throwing any shade, man. Unfortunately, my Raiders have been to a Super Bowl more recently than your Dallas Cowboys. I didn't want to bring it up, but sir, you started this, and I hate to throw it back at you, my friend.
Out of pocket. Sean, you love to cook. You love to cook.
The missus does.
The missus does.
Yeah.
You love to eat what the missus does. I mean, you cook on WOD all the time, so I just thought it was in your blood right there. But what you eating tonight?
We're doing some baked salmon, sweet potatoes, some asparagus, stuff like that. We were going to do the wings and the traditional Super Bowl food. We decided just to do a meal tonight. Probably tomorrow night, do a little bit more of that for night two. But tonight's going to be just a good home-cooked meal and turn on the Peacock and watch as WrestleMania Night 1 unfolds.
Hey, well, tomorrow for night 2 for Easter, there's going to be some good Easter food that you can eat while watching night 2. Yes. So there you go.
Yeah, that'll be pretty awesome. I think my mom's making pizza casserole.
Nice.
That we can eat. So that's going to be busting. But guys, it is the end of our live stream, but don't go anywhere. We have predictions. And so we are getting our final predictions out. And so you guys are on the spot. We got Gunther, Jey Uso opening up night 1 WrestleMania weekend. Do you have Gunther retaining, or do you have us starting Yeet style? Cody, who you got?
Yeet. Give me Jey Uso.
He's yeeting. Sean, you yeeting?
And still, your WWE Heavyweight Champion, the Ring General, Gunther. He's not losing 2 Rainiers back-to-back. Not happening.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, I don't want to be the tiebreaker, but it would be hard to start WrestleMania in any other way except Jey Uso yeeting getting the crowd pumped for an incredible weekend in store. Give me Jey Uso, but will not be upset if Shawn is right. We got the United States Championship, L.A. Knight. Yeah. Against Jacob Fatu, the Samoan Werewolf, in his WrestleMania debut. Is the United States Championship changing hands? Knight, Fatu. Shawn, what do you think?
Post to post, coast to coast. Give me Jacob Fatu.
Give him Jacob Fatu. Cody, do you agree?
Yeah, give me Fatu. This is the start of the Samoan Werewolves run. Give me Fatu.
Now, anytime in NFL episodes or the Gridiron Address when we do our predictions or out of pocket, if you will, on Friday afternoons, anytime we pick the same team, we all are wrong. We jinx them. But I don't think that's happening because Jacob Fatu is about to win his first championship in WWE. Give me the Samoan Werewolf. And there was a change. It is no longer Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is injured and El Grande Americano will wrestle. Chad Gable. Nope, just kidding. El Grande Americano is wrestling Rey Fenix in Phoenix's WrestleMania debut. It looked like Rey Fenix wasn't going to be on the card at all. And now technically he will debut before his brother, Penta, tomorrow night for the Intercontinental Championship. But do you have Rey Fenix or El Grande Americano winning? It's both of their WrestleMania debuts. Technically, Cody, who's going 1-0 at WrestleMania?
We're going to go with Rey Fenix. I think Phoenix coming in as a rookie. This is going to be a great show. Give me Phoenix. Give me this Starbucks luchador knockoff out of here. Give me a real luchador.
A real luchador. Wow. Those are some harsh words, Cody. Those are some harsh words. But Shawn, don't be as harsh to El Grande Americano. He's new to the game. There's no reason to hate him. El Grande Americano or Mysterio's opponent or Mysterio's replacement, Rey Fenix.
On WOD, I said American Grande Condo because I thought you could continue the story on. Now with Rey Mysterio out, Rey Fenix not losing on his WWE WrestleMania debut. Give me Phoenix, and like I said earlier, American Grande. See you later.
Hey,
pack that stuff up and put it in the briefcase and put it in the attic because we won't see it no more.
Now that's awesome because I told you at the beginning of the show, like predictions, I wanted your final prediction now. You dropped your predictions earlier this morning. I've had a few days to marinate on mine, but for reasons like this, the replacement, Rey Mysterio getting replaced by Rey Fenix. So I got Rey Fenix as well in a clean sweep. Shout out Logan joining us. Hello. Now that NXT and AAA have announced Lucha Libre Worlds Collide June 7th. Cody broke that news for us about an hour ago when that dropped. So, I mean, AAA, NXT, they're going to cook on June 7th. We're less than 2 months away from that, and we're less than 25 minutes from WrestleMania kicking off. Shout out Logan with the frequent flyer miles. But give me Rey Fenix as well in a clean sweep right there. And then we're getting into our women's matches. Jade Cargill, Naomi, as I mentioned, the first non-title women's match in about 20 years, the first time ever 2 black women have competed at WrestleMania. It's an historic match, and they built this up really well. But now it's time to pick a winner. Shawn, Cargill, or Naomi?
We're going to proceed with caution. Naomi.
He's proceeding with caution. Shawn's always been an advocate for Naomi. Cody, do you agree?
I want to very badly, but I think this is where Cargill shines. Not as squash, but I think she dominates for sure. Give me Cargill.
And I'm going Cargill as well, especially with her first real WrestleMania singles match. Naomi's done great character work, but Jade Cargill needs to look strong in the win and potentially go after Bianca Belair, depending on how tomorrow night shapes up. And we'll be back streaming live tomorrow for WrestleMania Night 2. And by the way, shout out to crossing over 500 people who have watched this live stream across all platforms. Drew Code Sports Talk, Boom Broadcasting, Mouth Off with Mike's Twitter. We appreciate you guys. There's another women's match. Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair, the present versus the future, the past. We don't know how many ghosts we're looking at. But Cody, is Tiffany retaining on Tiffy time, or does Charlotte claim another championship to get closer to her father's record?
There's 3 shorties in life: death, taxes, and Charlotte Flair winning the title. Give me Charlotte Flair.
He's going Charlotte Flair. Sean, do you agree or disagree?
Changing my pick from WOD, going with Charlotte. Charlotte wins to set up Roxanne or somebody to dethrone her at SummerSlam somewhere. Sorry, Tiffany, but I feel like after this, I said earlier, Tiffany now falls down to as somebody forgotten on the card.
Did Cody just change your mind?
I thought about it. I thought about it hard. I think Cody's right. I think you got to put it on Charlotte. As bad as I want Tiffany to remain champ, I think it's Charlotte.
Well,
transitional champ for Charlotte. Charlotte has a transitional champ.
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah. But I like it, though.
Transition to who?
Well, I think
probably. Yeah, who else is coming up the ladder, man? Who knows?
Alexa Bliss, Chelsea. Hey, just so you guys know, both of you are wrong because WrestleMania in Vegas runs on Tiffy time. Okay? It runs on Tiffy time. I'll tell you in a second if it runs on clobbering time. But this match runs on Tiffy time. Never give up, by the way. Never give up. Dream big and dream that Tiffany Stratton retains at WrestleMania, having her big moment. Yeah, we're getting Tiffany Stratton. I'll be the lone wolf there. But tag team titles, the New Day are lone wolves away from Big E. Who knows if Big E will make an appearance tonight? He was already on the kickoff show. But they're challenging the War Raiders. Will this new attitude for the New Day help them out? Cody, do you got the New Day or the War Raiders?
Oh, this is tough. I got the New Day, though. I think they do heel things and they win in some fashion that is not seen. And I think this is where a heel title reign is for the New Day. So give me the New Day on this one.
Sean, do you agree that the New Day can win another tag team championship to their record?
New Day rocks. Give me the New Day.
All right, we're clean sweeping right there. We're clean sweeping. I got the New Day as well, but don't be surprised if Big E does make an appearance and try to cost the New Day the tag team titles. So that would be a WrestleMania moment that we could run back to. And then, of course, we have one more match. It's the main event. It's the match that Cody and Sean are looking forward to. Think this could be one of the best triple threats of all time, one of the best matches of all time. We got Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk, a decade in the making. We have this triple threat match at WrestleMania. Sean, which man walks out the victor?
This is hard because I like all 3. I acknowledge my tribal chief. He's a revolutionary, a visionary. I like Self. But I'm going to say this, like Mussolini and getting put to sleep, CM Punk wins this match tonight. He wins his first ever WrestleMania main event and leaves out with the win.
Sean saying that WrestleMania does run on clobbering time. Wow. He's got clobbering time. Cody, I do want you to put some respect on our OTC, but I mean, who you got? I would say this is a coin flip, but there's no 3 sides to a coin.
Yes.
This is tough. I mean, gosh, no pick could be wrong because each of these guys have an opportunity. But if I'm looking at the storytelling, if I'm looking at who has the most to gain and probably is the one that's going to really come out firing, give me Seth freaking Rollins. I think he's going to walk out of here as the victor of this triple threat. And I think he's got so much built up with CM Punk and Roman. He's going to come out and he's going to leave a victor.
Wow. So you have Seth Rollins. Sean has CM Punk. And I'm not doing this to split because if you watched Drop the Mic earlier this week, I told you that Roman Reigns is walking out of WrestleMania as the winner because Paul Heyman might be walking in with CM Punk, but Paul Heyman's going to assure that he is walking out with his tribal chief. Still aligned, the wise man will not leave Roman's side for CM Punk. He will not leave his side for Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns had a horrible defeat last year, and he's been building himself back up. He got the Ulafala back from Solo Sikoa, and he's not competing against Cody for the WWE Championship. He's not competing against Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship, but this is the next step for Roman Reigns to get back what is rightfully his, the WWE Championship, and he cannot do that without a win tonight at WrestleMania 41. So give me your tribal chief. So one of us is right.
One of us is right.
It's me, but it might be one of you guys too if you can catch a needle in a haystack.
We're going to burn it down tomorrow, fellas. We're going to burn it down.
Somebody's going to sleep tonight. Somebody's going to sleep.
And at the end of the night, you are all going to acknowledge me, the rightful winner. But guys, this was a fantastic live stream. We're about 15 minutes away from WrestleMania. We guys promised you 2 hours of content, and we went about 2 hours and 15 minutes. Not only did over 500 of you come and hang out with us across all socials, Drew Code Sports Talk's YouTube channel, Boom Broadcasting's YouTube channel, Boom Broadcasting's Facebook page, Mouthing Off with Mike's X account. He was on field reporting earlier on in the show, but nearly 250 of you have joined us on Boom Broadcasting's YouTube channel, which we appreciate you. And some of you are new subscribers to the channel. We're up to 507, so we have 4 new, what we call family members to our content. We do wrestling content. We do sports content. We'll do NFL draft content next week. And then we'll also do WrestleMania Night 2 pre-show live stream kickoff for WrestleMania Sunday. And so you do not want to miss that. So that is why you do need to subscribe. It is free, but it will alert you when we are live streaming tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time before WrestleMania. And Tom, it's looking like Becky was the last minute thing, so they needed to add her on the show. So Bayley was taken out to do this. So Tom's even under the understanding that Becky Lynch might be the replacement for Bayley in the
Shawn.
tag team match.
That one hurts.
Triple H didn't hear you, bud. He said, Becky, you're in.
I thought we had patched them in, man. He didn't patch in.
Wow. So that's not only the other breaking news. NXT and AAA is going to do Lucha Libre Worlds Collide. That is going to be a event here in a couple months for WWE has purchased AAA. And then, of course, Rey Mysterio is injured and has been replaced by Rey Fenix to wrestle El Grande Americano tonight. But guys, we have a little over 10 minutes before WrestleMania kicks off. We'll let you guys go hang out, get your grub, and get ready for WrestleMania. It has been an incredible evening with you guys. Over 500 of you, and it has been phenomenal. We will be back tomorrow, and we appreciate everyone who has been there. And there's been so much chaos. Has there been before? No. But we're covering it all on Boom Broadcasting. We'll cover more of the chaos and everything that ensues tonight, tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Boom Broadcasting. Stay tuned to socials. And guys, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll catch you back here tomorrow afternoon. Everyone, enjoy WrestleMania.